Good afternoon. I'm about to say good evening. Good afternoon and welcome to the Hamilton County Commissioner Staff Meeting, September 24th, 2024. I asked everybody to introduce themselves on the dais.
Christy Rischel, Assistant Clerk.
Leslie Hervey, Clerk to the Board.
Stephanie Summerall Dumas, Commissioner.
Good afternoon. I'm County Commissioner Denise Driehaus.
John Bruggen, Assistant County Administrator.
Patrick Dressing, Assistant Prosecuting Attorney.
I'm Hamilton County Commission Board Chair Alicia Reese. We are going to get started. We're dealing with budget presentations. So our first is on the calendar is our Clerk of Courts for the 2025 budget presentation.
I almost said good morning, so good afternoon, Commissioners. It's wonderful to be here. Thanks for giving me a few minutes to present our budget proposal for 2025. I was like, I know we had a slideshow somewhere. All right, here we go. The majority of our increase is actually just the traditional personnel. Nothing new or interesting really there, just keeping up with personnel costs. However, we are asking for an additional $836,000 for a couple of specific programs, and so I want to go through those very briefly, and you'll see why. Issue number one for us is our postage increase. As you all may be aware, the way the county does mail is it all just comes centrally funneled through us for all county agencies. So we're not billing each individual county agency for their mail. We handle it. And because of that, we are uniquely susceptible to changes in things like mail rates. And looking at the volume of mail that comes through county agencies. There's what we know is that the post office increases postage twice a year. January and July. And in July 2024, the price went up 7.8%. So part of our issue when looking at postage is that it's not really discretionary spend on our end, whether or not postage is required by statute or regulation from the courthouse, which does make up about 2/3 of the postage budget is required notices, copies, things that have to be sent from cases that are filed. However, the rest of the county is still using us for those services. And so this is really non-discretionary on our end. We're handling the service for the rest of the county. And you can see just the level of mail that we are processing, 867,000 in 2023. At this point, by the time we submitted this, we're probably well over 600,000 now as of today. We've partnered with a vendor to try to take care of any discounts we can achieve. But again, this is a cost that, quite frankly, is only going to go up every year because the post office is increasing 2 times a year. And to keep pace with inflation, we anticipate those increases are going to be larger. There has been a tweak to Civil Rule 4 that gives some options on initial service, so that could decrease some postage costs. But we are still thinking that we're going to see a pretty large increase over time, year over year, in these costs, unless we start sending significantly less mail. And I'll give you a perfect example. If you look at the cost in August of 2024, for 71,000 approximately pieces of mail, it cost us $144,000. That's the highest number we've ever seen for any individual month. In August of 2023, for 78,000 pieces of mail, so more mail, it cost us $125,000. We're now starting to see that number that was hovering around the 105 to 115 mark every month bump up to that 140 to 150 mark right now. So these numbers are not really going anywhere, but we are doing whatever we can to try to reduce the amount of mail that at least that is going through the courthouse. The Help Center has continued to be an incredible success. Last year, we came to you to ask for additional funding to expand into juvenile court, and that has been a resounding success. At this point, we are projecting this year, we will see over 20,000 people that we are helping. And that is with 3 attorneys now in the main courthouse, 2 specifically for municipal court, 1 that covers down on common pleas and a partnership with the Court of Appeals as well, and then the 1 in juvenile court. So we've seen a huge increase in utilization of those services. There continues to be significant need. learning from the successes of that, Domestic Relations Court came to us and said, what would it take for us to try to get in on this action? Because we know it's been so successful in the other courts that you've built this up in. And looking at juvenile court, for example, where the model in juvenile court was volunteer attorneys that were there servicing the potential clients, and moving to a full-time staffed attorney has been incredibly helpful, one from scheduling and just in addition to continuing care in the work. That is the model that we're going to try to bring over to Domestic Relations Court. So for the additional $116,000 specifically for that, and Domestic Relations Court has also attached and sent you all a letter explaining why they believe this is necessary at this time. We are working in conjunction with the courts in the building to improve some of our public safety and security. One of the issues that has been identified is the security camera systems. That this is going to be part, I'm sure that you will hear of later today from the presentation of the courts. An overarching improvement in security. When you look at simply the amount of dollars that come through our office, but also look at just where we're situated in the building and the security posture of the building, we want to ensure that our camera system is upgraded and is also tied into county risk management. Currently, it is not. So the goal for this is to ensure that we can take advantage of the resources the county's already allocated towards risk management and be able to be better partners with the county on that. Finally, on this particular issue, we are looking at some additional upgrades to equipment for the bailiffs, which includes replacing existing or expiring bulletproof vests. And we are working on additional technologies and safety precautions because we're seeing a continued increase in the amount of evictions that are happening in our community. And our civil bailiff division are the uniformed bailiffs that are going out into the community to oversee those setouts. So we want to ensure that they, again, have the proper equipment, proper training, and are being able to move through those as quickly as possible because we want to make sure that we are doing our statutory duty and overseeing those in the most efficient way possible. I told you this was going to be quick today. We're not asking for a whole lot this year. So one, I just want to say thank you. We have worked with you all and the budgets that you've given us over the last couple of years to put a specific emphasis on recruiting and retention, and it's working. So when I came into office, we were floating somewhere around 14 to 15 vacancies per month at any given point in time. We couldn't fill jobs quick enough. We had a lot of turnover. That number is in the low single digits now, and it's because we have worked diligently to create an environment where people want to work. We've also been able to work on wages, and that's thanks to the appropriations you all have given us over the last couple of years to improve the quality of life for our staff. The last thing I'll say is that this budget really represents our specific needs. We have a lot of wants. We are going to restrict our requests for you to what our needs truly are. We are trying to pursue additional methods and mechanisms of revenue generation to look at ways that we can fund projects that are not as critical as what we need to come to you on today, but we want to try to keep this request as conservative as we possibly can to ensure that we're only coming to you for exactly what we need. Questions, please.
Thank you very much for your presentation. I'll open it up. Vice President Driehaus.
Thank you for being here. Really appreciate it. I just have a couple of questions. The first one is related to the Help Center.
Yes.
So love the work that you're doing with the Help Center. I think it's really important that you're over in the courthouse doing that work so that people have a lot of access to your services. So can you tell us, just because you're standing here, and I know it's not necessarily a budget question, but what are you seeing by way of the needs and the issues that people are bringing to the Help Center to get the help?
So primarily, again, our big driver of throughput is the municipal court, and it is issues around debt collection and eviction. Those have been the top two issues. Those continue to be the top two issues that we see people coming to get help. And it's worth noting, too, that this is not just about tenants. There are mom and pop landlords that are coming through that may not have access to their own attorney, that don't know how to begin the process. And then also tenants that are coming and trying to figure out, okay, well, I've been served with this notice. What do I need to do? How can I protect my rights? So those continue to be the big issues, the big drivers. Part of the reason that we expanded into common pleas and the Court of Appeals is that the Court of Appeals had identified a need. where people were just improperly filing, and we couldn't tell them, hey, if you just filed it this way, or you filed the wrong piece of paper, you filed a different piece of paper, you might actually make it through to the next step. And they wanted to try to help those people in a way that the court itself couldn't do by advising them of what they should do. So that's why we started working on that project with them. And then a common pleas, it's foreclosures. We're continuing seeing a growth in foreclosures. I don't think that should be shocking to anybody, seeing what property values have done locally and where wages have been locally. But that's the primary driver there. Obviously, in juvenile and what we anticipate in domestic relations, much narrower scope of duties and responsibilities, so custody issues and divorces.
Okay. Okay, thank you. And the eviction issue it just keeps going on, and we did quite a bit with ARPA dollars, but I know the need's still there, so I hope that just all the connections are still being made to any relief that's out there.
Well, and that's what we've seen as a growth in that space, because so many of the COVID era relief programs have either stopped accepting new applicants or have just run out of money over the last year or two. When the Community Action Agency, for example, had a large pot of cash, quite frankly, a lot of the work that the Help Center was doing was pairing people coming to us for help directly with CAA. And we continue to work with our partners across the board. We've partnered with the United Way, CAA, other organizations across Hamilton County that we view ourselves as that front line of defense. When people come to the courthouse, we can help identify what the real issues are. And maybe it's not necessarily a narrowly legal issue. Maybe the issue isn't something they need to resolve in court. Maybe they just need somebody to put them in contact with the right other organizations. And so we're using it as a funneling mechanism for that as well, trying to reach out to as many different community organizations are out there to understand what the services are that can be provided and try to help out people wherever possible.
And I would say that the 513 relief program that we have here might be helpful in that vein as well.
It's been incredibly helpful. We actually, I think at least once a month, if not more than that, have a Help Center attorney on the 513 relief bus. So we are using that as another great example of how we're breaking down barriers. We know that getting to the courthouse for a lot of people is a huge barrier. They got to figure out childcare, parking, public transportation, which courthouse building they have to go to, how much time do they have to take off work. There's a huge barriers just to getting to see us. So we are trying to ensure that we can get out in the community to see them as well.
And what I was referring to is the 513 on the website.
Yes.
It lists out some of the opportunities for help as a resource to your
Yes.
folks as well. And one last thing. So you mentioned that your retention, recruitment, I assume, and retention has improved. So we have implemented some policies here, like parental leave policies, tuition reimbursement, competitive wages. So is there anything other than that you are doing that maybe would be good advice for any of the rest of us in the room that might be looking to recruit and retain?
Well, I think that I would be cautious in giving advice because we are somewhat self-contained and, while large, small, around 200 employees. So there's things that we can do at a scale of that size that, quite frankly, don't cost money. But one of the things that I've implemented throughout my tenure is to sit down with every person on staff. And we're trying to build this into orientation so that when somebody comes on board, we have a half an hour meeting. They tell me their life story. I tell them mine. I say, here's the 10-year plan for where we want to go. Here's the waypoints we need to hit in the process of getting there. And here's the job that you're going to be doing and how you fit into this entire plan. That has been, I think, very helpful in improving general morale across the organization. I think when we started doing it, people were terrified because they'd never been called into the boss's office before and they all thought they were getting fired. Luckily, we dispelled that very quickly, and people have used it as a great opportunity to bring up issues too. Because what I realize that from my position, I'm not going to know where the pressure points or problems are, especially for our line workers. But if they feel comfortable enough to either raise it through their chain of command or come directly to me, if there's a problem that we can fix, then we can try to fix it. And so I think it's just that engagement and and working with our team to show that we're all on the same page. We're all trying to work together.
I think it's great. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Dumas.
Thank you. Thank you for your presentation. Just a couple comments. As you are very concerned about the postage increase, I am very concerned knowing the numbers. I didn't know the numbers, but I knew there was an increase. You mentioned about a civil option number 4 that people are looking in the legislature to try to help with that increase. But I think as a board, we need to ask our lobbyists to let the state people know emphasize the increase, because as we increase the postage, it does not allow us to do the direct services. Maybe we could use that money for something else. And we need to look at any way that we can to help with that increase. So I'm really concerned about that as you are. I was looking at the system, the safety system, security system, and just really surprised that you said the upgrade was only 100,000. Not that we want it to be more, but is this a fairly new system, and then you're just adding just something on?
It's not that it's a new system. It's that when you look at the jurisdictions, for example, over at the courthouse, municipal court has their jurisdiction, common police has theirs. We have ours. Sheriff's office has theirs. So this is our component of it. So this is not for the entire courthouse.
Okay.
This is just for our particular spaces. I think in total, the cost would be significantly higher when you add municipal court, common police, sheriffs, us all together. But for our component, really looking at our first floor areas where you first walk into the courthouse and you see our municipal court areas, and then our common police court areas on the third floor, just ensuring we're upgrading those.
Okay, that helps for clarity. Thanks. That's all I have.
Thanks. Thank you so much. I do have a question. Going back to the help center. One, you indicated foreclosures are up, evictions are back, and ARPA dollars are pretty much leaving. But in here, we're asking for an increase. So where would you be sending the people for help? I guess, is help available to have a help center?
Help is still available, because one of the things that we were doing, especially in the COVID years, was when we could partner people with other agencies that had money, and there was questions as whether or not there was a stay on evictions or not like that, or not. We could work with the other agencies when there was federal legislation and state level legislation to kind of pair those people together. The reality is now, as long as evictions are still moving forward, which they are, there's still always that need for help. There's always that need for somebody who got served with an eviction notice and doesn't know what to do next. Or maybe they're thinking, hey, my landlord is not upholding their end of the bargain, and I need to put my rent in escrow. How do I do that? Those are still a lot of the questions that we're getting, and we're still working with people to make sure that they know what their rights are, even if the process does go through the legal process, so that way they have access to an attorney to give them limited legal advice as to what exactly their options are and how best to position themselves going forward.
Gotcha. Yeah, I just wanted to, you're asking for an increase in that area, and you had mentioned that we don't have the financial help out there anymore. So I was just wondering what that was.
Well, so the increase is specifically for an expansion into domestic relations court to replicate what we did in juvenile court and what we've done in the courts at 1000 Main Street over in domestic relations, because they're seeing a similar need of people that are, quite frankly, wasting their own time and money and wasting the court's time and money because they may not fully understand how to fill something out. They may not understand exactly what they need to be doing, what the process is. And if people just had a little bit of that legal advice, and there's so much need out there on just basic legal advice that, for example, Legal Aid is a great partner with ours in the help center. They can't handle all of it. And a lot of people really just need somebody to sit down with them for 10, 20 minutes and explain, okay, if you're going to go through a divorce, this is the process. This is what happens next. This is what you need to file next. These are the arguments that you may want to make. These are the arguments that may be made against you. Just that simple 30-minute meeting can save not only that individual potentially time and money, but it can save our entire system time and money, because we can advise people in the correct way, and therefore they're not maybe having to file the same case 3-4 different times just to get it right. So there's continuing to be need, and even if the funding for relief programs has dissipated a bit, the cases are still moving forward. So people still have eviction cases moving forward. They still have debt collection cases moving forward. The focus now is to really advise them as to what to do to preserve their own rights going forward.
Gotcha. Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next is,
I just wanted to, not for him, but just make a comment. Normally, when we start our budget process, the administrator will give just maybe a 2-paragraph idea of where Hamilton County is and looking to be in 2025 with our almost $40 million gap for next year. And the reason why I say that is because everyone brings their budgets here, we certainly want to be able to approve as much as we can, but they need to know where the county is as it looks at the budget in '25, like we normally do.
Yeah, I think you just said it.
No, I think
We
you
gotta-
can say it, probably say it a little better.
Okay, well, we have we have someone just, okay.
No,
we
we
haven't
usually
stepped-
do it before we start.
Got you.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Mr. Brugan, would you like to tell us that we got a $40 million gap and we've asked everybody to put their wish list together and today is just the wish list?
We have, and actually, Commissioner, you said it very well. It is about 40. Actually, could be as high as $50 million, depending upon how you frame it. And the presentations we're seeing here are the requests from the departments. This is not where we're going to end up necessarily in order to bring those expenses down and hopefully move some of the revenues up to meet in the middle.
Thank you. Did you guys know about the gap, that big gap? No, the answer is no. Okay.
Brugan, you didn't tell them about
We-
the
we've-
gap?
we've
when
been
they
telling
sent us
them.
the proposal?
Okay, thank
Yeah, it
you.
is
I
kinda
appreciate
weird
it.
'cause they say give your wish list, which I don't know why we do that, but that's what they've been doing here at the county, I guess.
I would say that our direction on budget this year wasn't quite a wish list. It was, we gave departments plenty of warning up front that we were looking at a pretty substantial gap this year and asked them to try to moderate what their requests would be.
Okay, thank you. All right, prosecutor's office.
Yes. Well, good afternoon, Honorable Board and John. Thanks for the opportunity to present our 2025 request. I would like to thank you for this opportunity and also thank the administrative staff for assisting us in the whole process. And I can say definitely that we were advised of the $40 million gap and took that into consideration. So essentially, we are presenting a maintenance level budget from the standpoint that we are asking for no new positions. We were quite generous last year, and we've done a good job on filling those positions. But what I just want to go through some numbers here real quickly. We have asked for $22.2 million, which is about a 9% increase over our 24 approved. But if for an apples to apples comparison, if we add back into our 24 approved our vacancy reduction and the money that was removed for ARPA for some things, that brings us back to an adjusted approved of 21.3 versus our 22.2 request. That's a 4.5% increase. And that increase consists primarily of two systems that will, technology systems that will enhance our prosecutor's job. And that consists of these are called Matrix and Axon. We've met with John and the rest of the administrative staff and Jeff about all this and discussed this ahead of time. So they're aware of these systems. We have built in for next year $600,000 in our total budget. Of that, $378,000 will be apportioned to the general fund. Our children's services contract will absorb $72,000, and our DTAC budget $150,000. And just a few highlights of these systems. As I mentioned, they just will enhance our prosecutors and whole office in case management and the daily case processing. So it provides the prosecutors with comprehensive management of cases and digital evidence / discovery management, facilitates electronic receipt and delivery of evidence and discovery, documents receipts and delivery of evidence and discovery, enhances evidence and discovery review, trial preparation, and exhibit creation, allows for information sharing between existing users. And as you can see, the users include several state agencies and approximately 70% of all Ohio County prosecutors in most major cities, including Cincinnati, Columbus, and Cleveland. So these two systems are really a big part of the state and county prosecuting systems And they are looking forward to moving toward the whole judicial system. They're not there yet. They're working on that, but they have created systems for the prosecuting offices throughout. Bottom line, as I said, these will increase the efficiency and accuracy of case handling. Those are the highlights of our expense. And then as I brought up the estimates for our revenues, and our revenue estimate is up about $200,000 for the general fund. So we're holding steady there. And essentially, that is our presentation, given the fact that, as I mentioned, we're pretty much maintenance level.
Okay, I will open it up. Vice President Dreehouse.
I don't have any questions. I think this is pretty self-explanatory. I'll echo some of the comments of my colleagues that we are in a tight budget cycle, so this kind of increase is going to be challenging to meet. And maybe not during your presentation, but at some point, might want to dig in a little bit on the nature of the gap. It's related to revenue, it's related to request, it's related to more than just one thing. And so, but and I was just paging through some of the other requests from all the different departments and doing a little bit of a math equation, and you can see how these things pile up. So I just want to offer that by way of context for the request. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Dumas.
Thank you for your presentation, very clear and succinct. I did want to add a little bit of clarity, though, since we're on television. I mentioned earlier about our gap and all of that. I want to make it very clear for those that are watching, those in the room, that Mr. Brugan is one of the most thorough budget directors I've ever worked with in 40 years. So I was very much aware that you had shared that with them, but let us not forget that we have residents that are watching and need to hear that. So I need to be redundant and say that again. So, and I also wanted to say about what a great job you do every year. So that's all I have. Thank you for your presentation.
Oh, I had a question. Mr. Bruger, last two times in the budget, we had a comparison doc. Did we have one for this?
We can provide you with
Yeah.
comparison documents. We didn't
Oh, your mic is off. There you go.
Sorry, we didn't generate comparison documents for the sake of these meetings, but we can certainly provide you with that information.
Okay, because that kind of helped us. I know last time, I know it helped me to be able to look at, like, over the years, what has been the increase. Some areas never got an increase, some people did, but it's kind of hard. I'm just looking at the PowerPoint. I know we will get a document at some point, but usually we have a comparison document, like I think you used to do 5 years.
I think we did
4
go back
years.
5 years. We have, and the prosecutor has provided a 1-year look back here, but we can provide you with more than that.
Okay. Yeah, 5 years is fine. It just helps me understand. I think last time we did do an increase, and it'll show like what percentage that was because you make the case. But then, as we're looking at this year, what have you, I just want to be able to say for all the departments, it was very helpful for me to see what we've done in the past, where we made adjustments. Some never got an adjustment, so it helped me kind of make better decisions. But thank you for this, because just looking at it like this, it makes it hard for me to kind of see the total picture. So if we could do that. Well, thank you for your presentation.
Thank you.
Okay, next we've got courts, common pleas, and municipal.
Good afternoon. My name is Andy Gill, and I'm the court administrator for the municipal court. And I think the way, I think the way we would like to proceed today is I will give the budget request for the municipal court and then highlight a little bit of probation with a couple of requests, and then interim administrator Baradon will follow up with common pleas. I'll certainly take questions at the end of my presentation, or I can wait and we can do them all together.
We can do them all together.
That's fine.
Okay, great.
That's fine. So thank you all for providing us the opportunity to be here today. the municipal court budget request for 2025 is there's a request for 3 new positions. As you may know, the Common Pleas and Municipal Court administrative staff split back in March of this year. And so there is a request for an assistant court administrator in municipal court. Also a request for an additional personnel in the assignment commissioner's office. We have found that over the course of the last few years, with the expansion of sealing of records and expungements, that those filings have increased greatly. As well as the implementation of the Fresh Start program in the public defender's office. So our filings have gone up 116% since 2018. That creates more filings. Obviously, more personnel is required to process those filings and get things through. Additionally, the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court has made an emphasis on compliance with statute as far as fingerprints are concerned, having those sent to the state. And we have obtained and received fingerprint scanners for the court. And so those folks who are not, when they're not fingerprinted, when they come through booking in the jail, there are individuals who are cited to court who must have their fingerprints taken and sent to the state to be in the state system. And so we're requesting a part-time fingerprint technician for that as well. As you may know, the court, both courts continue to supplement the general fund where appropriate. Some of those include legal research for both courts. And then over the course of the last few years, the municipal court has almost alleviated the need for court reporters in the municipal court. We've gone to digital court reporting. We have a digital system in each of our 14 courtrooms and all 3 of our arraignment rooms. We still have some court reporters. We have not kicked anybody out the door. We are reducing that staff through attrition. And then on to the municipal probation request. Since municipal court took over EMD, took that back from the sheriff's office in 2019, the caseload has gone from about 250 individuals to over 700. And so we have, courts have greatly increased the use of EMD over the last few years. And over the last year, the reduction in jail bed days was about 215,000 jail bed days, and at $60 per day, that comes to almost $14 million that are saved by putting folks on EMD versus incarcerating them. And so that's where we are for now.
Can we ask questions of the previous? No offense to you.
Not at all.
Pardon,
I was wondering if you would want to ask after we both get done asking at the same time.
I have a question about the previous one, and I don't want to, if you don't mind.
Oh, of course.
Yeah, so the EMDs that
Yes,
you
ma'am.
referred to and the additional officers, why are we seeing this in your budget as opposed to the sheriff's budget?
Well, initially when EMD was created, it was placed in municipal court. And then in about, I believe it was 2013 or 14, the sheriff took EMD over. And the sheriff ran EMD for a period of time. Due to contractual reasons and limits on caseloads for individual officers in the sheriff's office, the municipal court took the program back over. And that was in 2019. And so the program is run under the court, and in fact, we have EMD officers who are OPATA certified, who run the program, and those are municipal court employees. Now, we do serve not only the municipal court, but the common pleas court as well for pretrial and post-conviction.
Okay, so the reason I ask is because, and you pointed out here, as we transition to some extent to EMDs, to, have that available to us for the folks that we're seeing, there is a correlating reduction then in folks going into the Justice Center because they're going home with EMDs instead. And so when I think about that in terms of a budget, I think, oh, we're spending money here, but we're saving money there. But is that not going to show up in your budget, but rather the sheriff's budget? And so that is it's a little bit of a challenge to evaluate, how those two things go together, because the expense is coming out on your end. So I will ask the sheriff for the correlating response then.
And you are correct. Pre-COVID, I think the daily count in the Justice Center was probably 1,100 to 1,200, maybe even more. And over the last year and a half, it's been much closer to 1,000 per day, sometimes in the low to mid.
In part due to the EMDs. Yeah.
In part due to that, yes.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, well, now that we're doing it that way, Commissioner Dumas, I'll open it up if you had any questions.
Thank you for your presentation, and I remember when we made the resolution, we decided to go forward with the EMDs, and I think it was a good idea. I was going to ask you, as far as your effectiveness, what you thought the effectiveness of the EMDs in general since we started using those.
I think it's been very effective. We always have the opportunity when we are at our maximum case, probably about our maximum caseload now, simply because of the number of officers we have, which is why we've requested 2 additional officers for next year. Equipment is never a problem. Our contract always we have the opportunity to get more equipment overnight. So it's about personnel and not the equipment.
Well, thank you, because I know we were hesitant. I wasn't, but some people were hesitant about, do we want to go that way? And so I'm glad that we did. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry for that confusion. My name is Tom Baradon. I am the interim court administrator for the Common Pleas Court. And I'm following up from Mr. Gillen. One of the things that I did, of course, I dropped something. To bring up before I got started and I wanted to thank the commissioners for having us here today. I wanted to bring up something that Commissioner Driehaus asked to Mr. Gillen. It is not an apples to apples comparison with the EMD. Because we do have such a good EMD program right now, thanks to your support, judges and magistrates are able to put people on EMD that we may not have in the past. And those people may not have gone to jail, but if you have an issue with someone who has an alcohol issue, we have a device that we're allowed to put on that monitors them, but also monitors the blood alcohol to see if they violate in any way. It allows us to do certain things when we have assault cases where they may not rise to the level where the person needs to be put in jail. We can put a juris monitor on. So that means that they have to stay in one area, and if they leave that area or get close to the alleged victim, our EMD officers are notified and go and activate on that. So by allowing us to have that increased budget, to have the EMD officers to do that, it gives us more flexibility so that we can make sure that more people are being put through the system, people are staying safe, but we're not overpopulating. Does not always correlate with overpopulating the jail. As to that, as Mr. Gillen discussed, we are also looking at additional probation officers through the Common Pleas Department. We are implementing a risk-based supervision model for the Common Pleas Adult Court. In order to do that, we need an additional 7 probation officers. And these officers will allow us to do a risk-based assessment of the individuals coming into the probation department to make sure that they receive the proper supervision that is required of them. For some people that come in, we don't require a great deal of supervision. They simply need to be checked in. For others, though, that have a myriad of problems who have been released from the Justice Center or have served their time or are put on probation directly, we need to make sure that we have those additional officers so they can provide supervision that is appropriate in intensity and can put the services based on the individual's risk level appropriate to their crimes. To do that, we've asked for the additional 7 probation officers. We are also asking at this time, which we've been working with the budget office as to this, Several years ago, we moved our 13 substation officers to the probation fees. They were being paid out of fees that were paid by after someone had been found guilty and the fees would put on. We paid those salaries from that. At this point, our probation is doing very well. We don't have as many people on probation. We don't have the same fee base that we do. And we're asking that those probation officers be put back to the general division at this point, or the general fund, excuse me. We are also at this point asking we have increased our budget request this year. We have already met with the budget department and we've discussed the increases that we are requesting. Over the past 9 years, the Hamilton County Common Police Court has not requested a significant upgrade in budget. Our funding has remained relatively flat as it has to employment and to the people that we've had working for us. Over the past several years, we've determined that we do need to increase the amount of employees that we do have to make sure that we can give people the appropriate services when they come into the courthouse. As you can see, our funding or our staffing levels remain relatively flat even through COVID when other departments were going up. We have recently put back in our commercial docket. We have our reentry court at this point. We have a couple other courts that I'm blanking on. Our drug treatment and recovery court that require us to have more staffs to support these courts. Besides just having additional people in the courtroom, we also need to have more staff so that we are bringing in people who can take over as we have retired. In the past, we have gone through a retire-rehire method, which is not appropriate. The county's been very clear that they wish us to move away from this, and we are looking at bringing new employees in to fill. Some of the full-time employees that we are requesting are to make sure that we do have the appropriate staffing for when we go forward and we bring new people in. I understand that this is just an overview today. We've been meeting with Mr. Bruggen extensively, going over our budget requests. We've had several things that we had wanted to put forward going into this year's budget that after discussing it with the administration, we decided they were not appropriate at this time. The requests that we are making for our employees are necessary so that we can keep our court operations functioning fully and strongly for our community. Does anyone have any questions as to what we've put forward? Our budget numbers are rather extensive. This is the first time I've done this presentation. I wish I had done a couple more overview slides rather than the intense documents and numbers that we have, but everything is laid out there. Our courts, as a general rule, as it relates to the other major metropolitan courthouses in the state of Ohio, are generally understaffed. From 3.1 staffers for most Cuyahoga, Montgomery, and Franklin counties, we're much at 2.2. So it really is important that we have enough people in the courthouse that we can function properly, and that's why we're making this request at this time.
Okay, thank you. Wanted to also offer if Judge Wendy Cross wanted to say anything or say hello or anything. I know you're here, so.
Thank you so very much for having us today. I really appreciate it. I didn't have anything extra to say, but I'm just happy to be here to support our budget requests.
Thank you. I'll open it up. Vice President Treehouse.
Thank you. Thank you for the presentation. I'm still going through the pages that you.
I know, and there's a lot of information in there, and Mr. Bruggen was
Pretty thick.
very clear about we should give as much information as possible.
Grateful for it. I'm just still trying to make my way through it, though. So as I do, and I went through a little bit of it prior to you speaking. So to get some clarity on the page that says Budget Request General Fund, and it compares the 24 to 25, and then it provides the variance between the two.
Mm-hmm.
So I heard you talk a lot about personnel.
Yes, ma'am.
And so two reasons the personnel budget goes up. One is either wage increases or additional personnel. Did I hear you say that it's both?
It is.
Okay, so it leads to a question I have, and I don't remember the presentation from last year, but did you all conduct a competitive wage study to see where you are in the market? And the reason I ask is because from what I can gather, that increase is it a 5%?
It is a 5%
Okay.
increase is
All right.
what we're requesting.
So what I'm wondering is, are you within your competitive set that's a little higher than what we have generally done?
The 3.5, yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So can you help us better understand that?
Yes. So, and it's interesting that you bring that up. One of the things that we had put in the budget for this year that we actually did remove was the request for a competitive wage study, which was going to cost over almost $250,000. Due to the county's budget issues this year, after discussing it with the administration, we determined it wouldn't be appropriate. We have done an informal study with our surrounding courts, which is the other common pleas courts, probate, juvenile, our domestic relations, and our appellate court to see where our salaries stood. And as we found, one of the example would be our staff attorneys. Our staff attorneys, as compared to the other courts around us, were substantially lower. We did make an increase in that to be able to keep them. We've also done the same thing with our court reporters. We were losing court reporters to surrounding courts because our wages were so much lower. Using the budget that we had within the court reporters budget, though, we were able to raise those salaries without making additional request of this court, of the county this year. So we have made we have done significant study of our surrounding courts. We've talked informally with Cuyahoga, with Montgomery, with Franklin, as to their employees to make sure that we are making a competitive wage. We're not pulling all the time from the same pool of people. We deal with a lot of people here locally. One of the examples that we've had is we had 2 magistrates who recently retired this year who'd been on salary for almost 25 years each. There wasn't a big evaluation for raises. They were at a rather low rate. To be able to replace them with people who were comparable, though, we had to offer a higher wage, which we were able to do, and we were able to bring that in and stay at full staffing. Part of our issue is that if we don't have a competitive salary due to the market right now, and we're bringing in a lot of different attorneys, is that we aren't able to get quality applicants even in the door. By able to adjust some of the salaries that we've had more people apply, and we've gotten better people in, and it's helping us fill those positions that have been vacated due to retirement, so we don't have to do a retire, rehire, and allow us to bring new people in and be able to keep the court moving in the right direction.
Okay. So you've done an informal study.
We have, and at this point, like I said, we had talked with the administration about going forward with a formal study, but at $250,000 at this point, with the information we were getting and working to make sure that we stay within budget, we felt that this was not the year to make that request.
Okay. Well, I understood, completely appreciate that. It certainly did help us to better understand what kind of increases we needed to put in place to recruit and retain individuals into the systems that are under the county commissioners. And so I was just curious about that.
Well, Commissioner, just to be really clear, after getting that information last year, we actually did go forward. We do have a proposal. The number that we have is because we have a hard proposal from the National State Court Institute to give us that information. We just haven't gone forward with it yet.
Got it. Okay, and then one last question. So again, I'm on the same page regarding the general fund. So the blue bar, or the blue portion of the bar, is personnel, and then the orange is other expenditures, which is more than the personnel bar. So help me understand what's under the orange bar, which is the other expenditures.
The other expenditures also includes our CMS budget, which is the court management system, and this is our computer system, which works with all of the courts in the county. It is under the common pleas budget, which it was a surprise to me when I got in exactly how that was set up. But over the past 2 years, we've been making significant, I won't say upgrades, but structural improvements. When I first started at the county back in 1999, we were on a system called Novell, which used GroupWise as our email platform. When I came back to the Court of Common Pleas, we were still on it. Last year, there was a budget. Our budget was approved that allowed us to start doing an upgrade through our directory system, moving from Novell to Active Directory. Going into this year, we've done that. We've had that budgeted out. We will be upgrading to the Active Directory, which requires software upgrades, which moves us to an Office 365 licenses. Those licenses are a big amount of that increase that we're seeing there. We're also doing, right now, working with the clerk's office has already left, but with the clerk's office, we are working with their automation fund this year to upgrade our court management system itself, which is the database that we all use. We have taken funds from there to done a study, not a research study, but a study with an independent group on the best ways to upgrade. So that's where those increases are coming from right now.
It's just, yeah, I was just curious because it's a huge portion of your budget.
It is, and it's one of the things that was rather surprising to me is the courts management system does take up a huge chunk of our budget.
Thanks.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Commissioner Dumas.
Thank you for your presentation. I just had a quick question about, if you can put that one slide up, as it relates to personnel employee compensation. And then in 2023, there was a 4.5% COLA.
Yes, ma'am.
And then in 2024, I said, oh, it was a decrease, 3.5% COLA, but the one-time 1% bonus, does everyone get that? Or how is it? Is it incentive bonus or what? 2024.
The 2024 was a 1% bonus that we did based on the COLA that we were given by the county at that point. 3.5 was put in there with the 1.5 that could have been used for a merit. We used it at that point as a one-time bonus. It was given to everyone.
To everyone,
Yes.
okay.
And what we're looking at with the 5% is also using a COLA, but also implementing a merit system so that we're doing performance reviews of all employees to make sure that when we do give a raise, it's not just all straight, but it's to reward those who have been working extra hard and to motivate others within the system.
So actually thank you for that, in 2025, the requested 5%
Yes, ma'am.
could actually end up being, I don't know, maybe 6.5% as you look at bonuses, performance, and incentives. So this is where you actually start out as the 5%, but it could be 6%.
We'd actually like to keep it at the 5%. We believe that would be appropriate at this point.
So you would not include bonuses then next year, or what?
We would have some bonuses, but generally as a rule, we do not do that many bonuses within the system. We usually work with the 1% sides being that, but that was more of the way it was phrased and structured to us, it's my understanding that was the way we had to do it.
Okay, that's all I had, thanks.
Thank you. I wanted to add something. The court management system, which is very much needed. It was something that the county keeps looking at way before
Yes, ma'am.
I even arrived here. But it's something that needs to be pulled into online. I know we've had several meetings with the administrators and all of different people. But there was something, if I'm not mistaken, a grant the Supreme Court Justice also kind of agreed, and I remember maybe 2 years ago that we applied for a grant, the courts did, I don't know which court. Are you familiar with that? And
We had applied for several grants through the Supreme Court as to our funding, some to upgrade systems within the courthouse. We did not, to my best recollection, receive any funding as to the CMS system. Okay. One of the issues that came up, and I'm glad that Mr. Bergen's here today because I've actually been having a lot of contact, is working with the administration so that we're exploring other funding sources for some of our technological upgrade needs. The budget that we have in right now to upgrade CMS is simply for evaluation. We're partnering with a firm called Mission Critical that has been doing the review of our system. Once we get through that, though, the upgrades are going to be substantial. And our hope is that with the help of the administration, we'll be able to apply for not just only state, but federal money that'll help us move forward with that.
okay. Now, is that system just for your court, or does it include?
The CMS system is actually the base for everything. So when you go onto the clerk's site, the information that you pull from there comes from CMS. Attorneys who use our paper on demand, or our judges and our staff that use paper on demand, all come from the CMS system. Literally is the electronic backbone of the court system.
Okay.
Correct.
The reason I was asking that, because if it goes into your particular budget, maybe it needs to reflect going across every entity that would be utilizing it. So in other words, if it's in your budget, but you say the clerk's got to use it and another court's got to use it, it needs to be reflective. I know it would help me to be reflective that it's not just for one court. It is, usually you divide things that will help and you put them in the buckets for everybody that would, kind of like an assessment.
Yeah.
It would have an assessment.
And that's a very, honestly,
right now,
coming
it's
in,
all on, and it looks like, okay.
it was a big surprise to me too when I looked at it, just understanding that it was all put in the Commonwealth Pleas budget. And there were reasons why they did it in the past, and I know, and I appreciate you saying it that way, and I hope the commission does look at it as that it's used by the entire system, even though it is just under the common pleas budget.
Yeah, so that's one thing I would ask because it helps me. And then the second thing is, as we're looking at the budget, and we were faced with I wouldn't say we're faced with a deficit right now because we haven't voted on a budget, and we always come with a balanced, structural balanced budget the last 3 years, I know. But I would say that the new technology that's out and licensing fees, and that is the future because everything is in clouds and all those things now, that it be noted that those are some of the driving forces in terms of an uptick in cost. I think it's the new way you're doing business now, and you have to have the licensing and all those kind of things, plus the cybersecurity and all of that.
And we're not just purchasing a box with the program anymore. It's a yearly upgrade or a yearly subscription. You're exactly right, Madam President. And it's one of the things that I know CMS internally has been working very hard to make sure that we're getting the proper amount of licenses. We're having enough that we can function, but we don't want to have extra because they are expensive and they do roll over, and that's just the way the cost continues. So they are looking at that. That's a very good point.
Yeah, so I just want to make sure that's out as people are watching. While people say, let's get away from paper and folders, but the paper and folder has a fixed cost usually. But once we
true.
sign up for its licensing, it's either you pay for it or you lose all your content.
Yeah, and that's
So
the other.
that's
Yeah.
critical.
And the prosecutor's office has been very good working with us on those contracts to make sure that when we do start working with someone on the software, that we can still retain the ownership of our data. And that's something that's added some cost to make sure that we do have that because we can't lose it. As a court, we're required under the state law to retain documents, and it just creates even more hurdles that we have to jump through. But that's the law, and it keeps data safe, so we'll keep doing it.
Yeah, I like you mentioned that ownership because when you're buying these softwares, they basically say you're renting the space.
Yeah.
So all those things are so important as we go into this next budget, as we're moving more to the new technology. So thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Next, we have juvenile court. Good afternoon.
All right. Good afternoon. Thank you, commissioners, for the opportunity to speak with you today. Over the past year, with the support of this body, the juvenile court has continued its work to improve the quality of services that we offer. We've been expanding our collaborations with our systems partners, and we've been working internally to implement best practices. Because at the juvenile court, we are not interested in having a successful moment in time that plays well in the news. We are interested, under the leadership of Judge Carrie Bloom, to create a sustainable movement for change. Apologize, I'm having a slight difficulty. So in conjunction with UC Law School and the Hamilton County Clerk of Courts, our help center is now open 5 days a week with a full-time attorney, positioning us to help the more than 3,000 families who access custody services through our court each year. We've simplified all of our court forms, making them fillable, online, and replacing legalese with terms that people actually understand. We've implemented a text reminder system, and we've added safe surrender days, allowing 84 children in Hamilton County to address their outstanding warrants and cleared over 180 active warrants through our system. After 18 months of planning, we rolled out a new evidence-based behavioral modification system for our kids at the youth center. Our probation department was selected to participate in Probation Transformation, a national best practices model. And in 2024, we were selected by the National Court of Juvenile and Family Court Judges to be a demonstration site for the Enhanced Juvenile Justice Guidelines Project. This project will help us implement best practices in Hamilton County as we become a model site for the entire country. The goal of Judge Carrie Bloom, Judge Stacy DeGraff and Reed, and all of juvenile court employees is to create a movement for sustainable, long-lasting change that will improve safety and outcomes in our communities. And we can create this change if we are guided by data and work collaboratively with community and state partners. Data tells us that we have to support children earlier in their development before locking them up becomes the option. We know that once they spend time in a detention center, they're 33% more likely to die before age 39, 39% less likely to graduate from high school, and 41% more likely to spend time in an adult prison system. This is why our movement for change includes alternative strategies to keep kids out of our system. In 2023, 86% of kids who completed diversionary services through the court did not return with official charges. The services we are provided are desperately needed in our community, and we know this because of the 400% increase we experienced last year in self-referrals and walk-ins to our assessment center. Now, as you may recall, we inherited an 82% recidivism rate for youth of color in this community, but the changes that we are making are beginning to have an impact on those numbers. According to statistics provided by the City of Cincinnati on Friday, juvenile shootings are down 37% year-to-date over last year. And research by the Cincinnati Enquirer published in July shows arrests for juveniles for violent crimes such as homicide, assault, and rape are also 37% lower from the first 5 months of this year compared to last, and a full 21% lower than the average for those same months over the course of the past decade. To better connect with families and reduce recidivism, we've added 6 new local service providers, and as a result of these and other efforts, our probation department has achieved an impressive overall 8% reduction in recidivism amongst our highest risk offenders. In 2025, it's our intention to add 6 more community programs, which will all be funded by grant dollars. Now, recidivism is a critical indicator of future success, but it's not the only indicator of sustainable positive change. While in our care, either at the youth center or in any of our programs, it's the court's responsibility to help children become self-sufficient adults. As Ohio Governor Mike DeWine said recently in response to recommendations to improve the state's juvenile justice system, all children deserve the opportunity to live up to their full God-given potential, and that means all children. So for the children we serve, that requires a continuum of care, and a major undertaking in this direction is the reopening of the Hillcrest Academy. The plans for Hillcrest include respite beds for children in Jobs and Family Services custody who desperately need temporary placement. And as the full vision of Hillcrest Reimagined comes to fruition, we'll be adding space to house and treat children with significant mental health needs. According to the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, nearly 50% of American adolescents will experience a mental health crisis in their lifetime. To help all kids be successful, we must be prepared to support this growing segment of the population that we serve. To bring Hillcrest online, the court will need to add personnel. So we're seeking funding for a director, an assistant director, and 20 security officers to help support the Hillcrest mission. Not surprisingly, we're seeing an explosion of mental health issues with our children in our detention center. This has a significant impact on safety and security at the facility, and also impacts the need for one-to-one supervision. As a repository system, we don't get to say we're too full or your kids' needs are too great. We're required to take these children as they come to us. Currently, we're funded for 10 pods, which generally house 10 children each. However, this year we had to open an 11th pod for just 2 children because their mental health and developmental challenges prevented them from safely assimilating into the facility with the other children housed there. These 2 children are not the only children struggling with mental health and developmental issues. And when children in our care need more attention, that doesn't mean our staff gets to provide less attention to other residents. It just means that they have to do more with less and stretch to provide those services, often requiring them to work overtime hours to meet the daily needs of the facility. That is why I'm asking for 9 additional correction positions this year. In the past year, the court has committed over $100,000 in grant funds to improve conditions at the youth center. Because while kids are with us, we must provide them with an opportunity to become better, healthier people. Some of the steps that we've taken in this year is to add a new category of juvenile corrections officers called intervention specialists, who help kids develop better self-regulation skills. Through grant funding, we are creating multisensory de-escalation rooms in an effort to decrease security threats and to help kids learn to manage their anger. We're partnering with the Cincinnati Zoo to build and maintain a garden where kids will grow fruits and vegetables. And a new partnership with our food provider, Airmark, called Into Work, gives selected youth at the detention center the opportunity to earn experience in the food service industry. Graduates earn a nationally recognized certificate and are guaranteed a job with Airmark upon release, in addition to a $2,500 scholarship for that child and a relative of that child's choice. It's truly a transformative opportunity for these kids who are often overlooked and feel like the odds are squarely stacked against them. When we talk about creating a movement for change in juvenile court, we are talking about programs like Into Work that provide off-ramps for the school to prison pipeline. What we do at the juvenile court is critical because these are Hamilton County kids and they are coming back to our Hamilton County neighborhoods. Now, the court recognizes the financial constraints on the county's general fund, and that's why this year we reevaluated our fee structure, something that hasn't been done for almost a decade in juvenile court. And we increased our filing fees in private custody cases from $165 to $200. We try at every turn to try and reduce our impact on the general fund. And this year we were able to spend $4.3 million in grant funds to provide services and programming to kids and families in Hamilton County. In 2025, we anticipate covering approximately 26% of our budget from outside sources. But unfortunately, the availability of those external funding is neither consistent nor guaranteed. For several years, we've managed to secure alternative funding to pay for our entire probation department, in addition to 3 other critical staff positions. But changes in the law and shrinking pools of alternative funding have ended our ability to do this. That means that 42 of our current employees are being reallocated from grant-funded positions to the general fund this year. The majority of these positions are services that are statutorily mandated for the court. The remaining 3 positions, including our human trafficking coordinator, we consider to be critical. The full list of our personnel request includes the reallocation of the funds for the 42 existing positions I just spoke about, 22 Hillcrest employees, the restoration of 24 full-time employee positions that are currently included on our organizational chart and were part of our last year budget request, 9 juvenile corrections officers, and 5 positions at the judge's office, including a data analyst. Now, I've shared reasons for most of the requests, but let me briefly explain why we need a data analyst. In essence, as a court, we can't fix what we can't measure. Juvenile court is rich with data, but we lack a reliable source to be able to analyze it. We need to be able to analyze that to know that we are effectively providing programs and make modifications based on data-driven outcomes. In summary, personnel needs top our list with a total increase in about $8.5 million. The increased cost to our operation budget is just under $650,000. That includes about $200,000 to reopen Hillcrest, $140,000 for mandatory interpreter fees, and $100,000 to begin the process to digitize our paper files. In our original budget submission, we had included $200,000 for an IT infrastructure upgrade plan, but we've identified an alternative plan in order to do that that will allow us to work within last year's budget allocation. However, I'm instead asking that we can repurpose those funding to replace carpet at the youth center. Over the past 2 years, the court and county facilities have both requested money to replace the carpet through the Capital Improvement Fund. At the detention center, carpet is not aesthetic, it's a matter of safety. As you can see from the pictures, it's unraveling and pulling away, creating physical hazards for both staff and children. It's only a matter of time before someone is seriously injured. And that is why we are requesting to reallocate that $200,000 for carpeting. On behalf of Judge Bloom, Judge DeGraffenreid, and the entire juvenile court team, thank you for considering our request and your ongoing accessibility and support.
Thank you. Thank you. I would like to also acknowledge and have, if they'd like to come forward, Judge Bloom and Judge DeGraffenreid. gotta say it over here, Judge.
Yes.
Baby, I got the gavel in here. No, they
Go
want
ahead, go ahead.
No. They want to hear from you, Judge.
No, I just want to say thank you for listening to our proposal today. Everyone's put a lot of work into it, and so we're just thank you for the time.
Also, thank you. Thank you for working with us from your team. Nice to see you all. We don't get over here very often. But as you heard from Liz and in the presentation, we really do what we can do to find other money to support the programs and the new and innovative things that we want to do. We're here because that money isn't allowed to cover certain things like personnel and otherwise. And those are the essential people, items, and tools that we need to continue the great work that we're all doing as a team. We've all also, something Liz left out, is that we have, as a court, started convening all of our systems partners, is what we would call them, JFS, CPS, CPD, the prosecutor's office, various divisions, the public defender's office, for quarterly, monthly to quarterly-ish meetings to really work together on using our resources efficiently to help kids and families in Hamilton County. So just another thing to share that we're doing in the background, because we recognize that we all have to buckle down and do better with what we have. And thank you for listening to us. It's always very exciting to come over and tell the good stuff that we're doing, because so often the bad stuff is right there in your face. So thanks again.
Thank you very much. So I'll open it up to Vice President Driehaus for questions.
Thank you for the presentation. Yeah, this budget request is a little higher than some of the other ones we've seen so far, so I do have some questions. The first one is, and I'm on the page that it says personnel, 8.45 million, and then you've broken out that request. My first question is related to Hillcrest. So I can see that there is an increased expense for Hillcrest, and thank you, by the way, all of you, for all the work that you've done related to Hillcrest, responding to what we know we need to do for kids in that facility, and also listening to the folks that live in the area and some of their concerns related to this facility. So my question, though, is about budget. So we had a contract with Rites of Passage to provide these services at that location. And so I'm wondering how that is juxtaposed to this request. And again, I don't know how much we were spending on that contract, but how does that compare then to this request? And is that full contract amount being absorbed into the department, and then this is on top of what we were spending for Rites of Passage?
So it would be inclusive of what we were spending for Rites of Passage, but the reimagination of Hillcrest is a completely different model. Essentially, when we were using the Hillcrest property, when Rites of Passages was the facilitator for us, we were only housing about maybe 15 Hamilton County kids a year on that property and paying for those individualized services. What we are doing with the property is reimagining what we're doing with it. It's going to be 36 beds for our traditional Hamilton County Hillcrest children, so those are our criminogenic youth. We are going to have 66 respite beds. That takes care of the population for jobs and family services that we're talking about, with oftentimes kids who don't have placement that is readily available, and they either end up sleeping in our detention center or they end up sleeping in jobs and family services building. That's an untenable situation. This gives us an opportunity for kids in our community to be at a location where they're going to have safe, secured assistance with staff who cares in an appropriate environment. And then the 48 mental health beds that we're going to be bringing online is also significant. As we have discussed in the presentation, and I'm sure that everyone in this room is aware, there's just an explosion of mental health needs for kids in this country. And if we don't take that into consideration at this point and start providing the appropriate services to address that, it's going to be a continuing problem. Mental health, we typically find, fuels some of the criminogenic behavior that we see among our youth, and we believe that if we are able to do a better job of managing their mental health and addressing the trauma that these kids have experienced, that will have a direct result in reducing crime in our community.
100% agree with what you've said related to the expansion of the services and really thinking that through. And that's, again, grateful for that. I'm wondering, though, when you talk about the kids that are the JFS kids that are in need of respite, again, we see we're crossing budgets here again from one department to the other. And so it just, and I don't need for you to answer this now, but certainly this has been thought through by way of can the JFS Children's Services Levy, where we do have some dollars available perhaps for this, be thought through to partly fund, maybe fully fund some of that respite care that you're referring to, as opposed to having that show up in your budget. I'm just trying to think a little differently about what you just conveyed as the services that you're going to offer. And then the other one related to mental health, I wonder the same thing there, that if there's another way to fund that to relieve some of the pressure on the JV court budget. So and I'll maybe offline, I don't want to get into the rabbit hole here, but I do wonder if there's another way to look at some of those Hillcrest services that are not so much what was being provided before, but rather these additional services that you referred to. And then,
Commissioner, if I may,
yes,
we've been working with Liz in the court on exactly that topic. So just broadly, what Liz is describing is really sort of the full-fledged program, I think, for Hillcrest. The funding structure for that will significantly involve children's services. So what we're sort of expecting at a very high level, one thing is 2025 will probably be a pilot year. We won't be operable for the full year. So there'll be less cost associated once we drill down to see, okay, this is how much of the year is going to be involved there. We also expect that most of the programming and probably a lot of the staffing piece is going to come out of children's services for operating Hillcrest. The biggest general fund impact we're expecting is actually in our county facilities department for operating the campus. So that's really where I think we're going to see impact on Hillcrest in our general fund budget.
I see.
Okay.
Yeah, and I can see now that I've looked at it, it's a lot of the security personnel is in here.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. The other thing, you mentioned, it's the line below this one, it's the 1.8, positions requested in 2024. I'm not clear on what this line is. So these were requested in 24. Did they go unfilled in 24?
So some went unfilled. Some of the positions with the agreement of the budget office, we did continue to fill at the youth center because it was considered critical staffing. And so even though it did go over part of the budget allocation for last year, in discussions with the budget office, they agreed to allow us to hire some of that staff. So those 24 positions don't result in 24 new bodies to the court, but it does close the gap on some of the things that we've had to do to facilitate the needs for our youth center.
Okay. Okay, and then just last, we talked about this at one of our previous meetings about what Governor DeWine has talked about with a new facility here in Hamilton County. I can't remember if this was in public or my one-on-one with Administrator Aludo, but there was some conversation about how that plays out, what kind of facility that is, how does that interface with JV Court, with with Hillcrest maybe, with 2020, with all the work that you're doing, and what exactly does that mean, and can we leverage because the state has said they're going to build and operate that facility. It's like, oh, wait a minute, can we take advantage of that in some way? And again, I am worrying about the impact of your request to the general fund budget, frankly. And so I'm just looking for ways to try to ameliorate some of that total. And I don't know, and Jeff and I talked a little bit about it, that he told me there aren't that many kids impacted by what is being proposed. Can you elaborate just a little bit?
Yes, so we did, Governor DeWine has part of the 26-point plan for revitalizing juvenile justice system includes adding 3 CCFs, and that's a community corrections facility. They're looking to add one in Hamilton County, they're looking to add one in Cuyahoga and Franklin County. Shortly after that announcement was made, the court was contacted by the Department of Youth Services, who will be overseeing this project, and they are developing a process right now that they are asking for Hamilton County, Franklin County, and Cuyahoga County to submit bids before the end of this year for a community corrections facility. We had some initial discussions about whether or not it made sense to repurpose part of Hillcrest for that. However, we didn't believe that that would be appropriate for the community where it's located and the services and the needs that we're hoping to provide to kids on campus. It would also, if we went with utilizing part of Hillcrest for the CCF purpose, it would mean that we would not be able to house those 66 respite beds for Jobs and Family Services. So we determined that Hillcrest was not a viable option. We are taking a look at the possibility of potentially repurposing the 4th floor of our detention center for that purpose, or we are looking at the possibility in conjunction with the county's decision to move the assessment center, and we're looking at a program to maybe relocate the assessment center to the front lawn of the detention center, that perhaps that could be a location for the CCF. It does provide, at least as it's been explained to me so far from the state, a possibility for the court to be able to draw down some fundings that would help support some capital improvement projects if it is combined with a second location, such as either the detention center or if it was rebuilding the assessment center in conjunction with the CCF on the 2020 property at this point.
Okay, yeah, that's helpful. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Dumas.
Thank you. Thank you for your presentation. Most of my questions have been answered, but as you mentioned about possibly submitting an application for being the 3rd facility, you have decided not to submit an application, or are you going to go in and submit?
I apologize. We are submitting it. It's due by the end of the year. We actually haven't seen the actual application yet. It was due to us this week, but Department of Youth Services wanted to make some additional changes to the application process, so we don't actually have the application in hand yet, but I anticipate that we will apply by the end of this year for the CCF facility.
So I thought I heard you say earlier it didn't meet the vision that you guys had
for the Hillcrest location.
Right.
Yes.
And I heard about on the 3rd floor, 4th floor, whatever, but I'm just really interested in why it wouldn't fit. You don't answer now, because I know you guys have talked about it and met about it, but I immediately thought about Hillcrest for our ability to be able to get additional monies, but it was already brought up. I was looking at funding and where we could get more funding. You talked about the agreement with Rites of Passage has already been incorporated in that. JFS is going to also help with funding. I thought about the Mental Health Recovery Board. Also looked at staffing, and JFS will be a part of it. So when you're the last to speak, but I'm glad that those questions were answered. But most of my questions are more programmatic. I won't ask now, but I'll send an email to somebody. But I was just wondering about the respite care. What ages are you talking about that would be in respite care?
So we haven't got to the finer points with Jobs and Family Services, but in general, I would expect that we would be talking about children between the age of 10 and 17.
So maybe the ones that fall in the gap, like once they get out of JFS, like 18 to 21 or something like that. Had you thought about that?
We had not thought about that for the particular purpose of the Hillcrest property in the current iteration.
Okay. Let's see. Yeah, I'm very concerned about the budget also. I was just looking in general as we look at the security personnel. Is that 20 security personnel? So considering that this site is enclosed, we definitely need some security. So you would have like 2 security in each pod? Is that how you would do it? Or?
So we're still negotiating over where our security staff is going to be, and if there is a possibility through using some other funds that may be available to Jobs and Family Services, that the sheriff's office would take over responsibility for managing the perimeter of the property, and juvenile court staff would be on property providing the internal security. But we haven't worked through that yet. If we're able to work through that and we're able to have the sheriffs pick that piece of things up and have JFS pay for that, then we would be reducing our request from 20 security officers to 13. That's going to allow us to effectively have about 4 staff members on property at all times. And an important piece of this iteration of Hillcrest, as far as the court is concerned, is that we maintain a presence and oversight on that property. And having our security staff, our director and assistant director on property will help us coordinate with all of the programs and services that we hope to be providing on that campus.
Thank you. And had there been any thought of maybe opening half of the complement of pods instead of trying to fill the whole area with children, and maybe just open half of it for budget's sake? Or where are the children now that were in there before? They're all over the state.
So some have been moved into back into the community. Some have gone on to other residential treatment programs. Most at this point are probably through with at least the residential portion of it. We have had conversations about ramping up in the first year, as Mr. Brugan suggested. We probably are going to start with a smaller footprint, and then we will be looking at expanding as we figure out exactly how this will impact the budget. Where can we draw down federal dollars to pay for some of the services and care, and what that actually will look like.
So will we be able to see, like, if there's a smaller group of children that you would be working with, what that budget would look like?
Certainly, we can get you something.
Yeah, I'd be interested in that.
Okay.
Thanks. That's
Thank
all
you.
I have.
Okay, thank you. Some of the questions have been answered and addressed. I certainly, one of my big ones was when I read the article about the state officials recommending new community corrections facility for youth in Hamilton County. So definitely wanted to know, would the state be funding this? Would they also be providing operation funding, or is it just brick and mortar? And then will it run up under our juvenile court, or will it be running under the State Department of Youth Services?
So the formulation of a community corrections facility would mean that the state of Ohio will pay for all of the costs, including the infrastructure. They will pay for all of the costs of necessary employees, but it will be the responsibility of the juvenile court to supervise and manage those employees. It's also my understanding that at this point in time, if we are able to work out a location, such as, let's say, if it's the combination of the assessment center that we know needs to be moved by next year, when that's moved and we're looking at a location, could we then build the CCF on top of it? If we do that, what the state has indicated to me is they pay 100% of the cost for the portion of the facility that they would be utilizing, and 60% of the cost for the portion that they are not utilizing. So there is definitely an opportunity if we are able to combine opportunities for housing population and maybe the assessment center, maybe the detention center, to have some benefit and reduce the overall cost on the general fund budget.
Okay, that would be great to hear. Do we have a timeline on in terms of our need, in terms of the facility?
The CCF?
Yeah.
From our perspective at this point, unless they make the additional legislative changes that they're talking about, we're really talking about a very small portion of kids who we serve in Hamilton County. We send 80% of the children who we send to Department of Youth Services right now are mandatory commitments. That means that our judges don't have any discretion in sending them to that facility. A CCF, which is a step down, does not currently under the law qualify for that. So 80% of the kids who go to Department of Youth Services would not be eligible for our CCF. It would be that 20% of the population that is discretionary that we could utilize a CCF for. And just to put it in perspective for you, we currently have, last time I looked, 35 kids at Department of Youth Services, which is a high year for us to have that many kids at that location. It's from the number of shootings and things that have happened. So we're really talking about a few kids each year that our county really needs to have a CCF for. The facilities that they're talking about building are between 16 beds and 50 beds. I would thinking the juvenile court here would be looking for probably a 16 to 20 bed facility to be able to meet the needs of this county.
Gotcha. And then certainly I share some of the concern in terms of cost, but I do want to, on the capital, I don't think it was included in this. Would there be another component on capital needs? Because that building, I've been talking about a power wash or something at the juvenile facility. And I know you have a lot of needs over there. How are we coming with the building itself?
For the Hillcrest building?
No, not Hillcrest.
800 Broadway.
Oh, at
Hillcrest
800
is
Broadway.
looking better than what we got.
We have moved forward with an elevator replacement at 800 Broadway, and we're working on the facade replacement. We have funded about half of the facade replacement project, and we'll be seeing more of that come forward with capital in 2025.
Okay, I wanted to make sure of that. And then my last piece is this component, your slide, that talks about 2024 juvenile shootings down 37% compared to 2023. And it's got information from the Cincinnati Police Department. Now, we are countywide. I'm very concerned. I was at an event, and it was asked, actually, a youth asked me who never not in trouble, doing the right thing, but was concerned that at his school there was a shooting for the football game twice, and they're getting kind of punished because we can't even have a football game, organized sport. So it's kind of hard when we have like PowerPoints to say shootings are down. I know says just in Cincinnati, came from Cincinnati Police Department, but people have been asking, what are we doing? And I know the way that the county is structured, we're different than when I was at City Hall. City Hall, we hire the city manager, we have a say on the chief of police and those kind of things. And now every jurisdiction has their own police department or sometimes the sheriff. But this is more than just police departments. Could you maybe highlight some of the things that juvenile court, because you're doing some innovative things as well, that we're doing to help with the youth?
Yes, and one of the reasons why we need a data analyst is because we need a better opportunity to analyze our own data as opposed to rely on other people. And so the information that's coming from the city of Cincinnati, which Judge Bloom and I were at a crisis matrix modeling with the city just this past week, and that's when they announced these statistics. Traditionally, majority of the kids who are involved in shootings are residents within the city limits, which is why that's impactful. It doesn't mean that it's not happening elsewhere, but that's why that number is so significant.
This was at North College Hill football.
Yes.
They canceled the whole season.
Yeah. It's a lot of hard work. We are trying to do new things with the requirements that we have through probation transformation. We hope that is going to help our probation officers do a better job of supervision and management. With the new community service providers that we've put in place, we are focused heavily on credible messengers at this point in time. We have 3 new organizations that we onboarded last year that are doing that direct work within the community to try and address these kids. One of those involves a pilot project, and we're trying to determine whether or not working with a credible messenger model with some additional supports and things could reduce the level of car thefts within the community. We have a specific project that we're looking at that metric at this point in time. So we're really trying to drill down not only on the data that's available so we can make better informed decisions about what programming actually functions and what is just a waste of time. And we're also doing work, as Judge Bloom mentioned, on a collaborative level with both county and city organizations. We're working with Children's Hospital and the Fisher Center to do our systems partner group, which is Jobs and Family Services, Prosecutor's Office, Mental Health Board, Public Defender's Office, representatives from the city, and we're all trying to figure out where and how do our systems interact. How can we legally and appropriately share information so we can do a better job of identifying kids at risk and putting interventions in place before they ever reach the court? So that's some of the bigger picture work that we're doing in the background.
Thank you. And on electric monitors, we just heard from the Common Pleas and Municipal. Do you handle that yourselves, and is that in here? I know you've got a pretty thick packet too, but do you see an increased need on the electronic monitors? Is that in your proposal?
We are not asking for an increase in our electronic monitoring right now. It is something that is run by the Juvenile Court Probation Department. I think that we have enough monitors and we're using them appropriately in the community. Now, I will tell you, we're always looking for extra monitors, but it wasn't part of what we thought was critical for where we needed to go at this particular time as a court. Also, just to let you know, I know that there was the discussion regarding how Common Pleas Court is responsible for the CMS net budget. My understanding, at least through our IT director, and I know that we've recently received a request for the juvenile court to pay its portion for the changeover to the Active Directory system. So I am not positive that that number reflects what the juvenile court costs are associated with that, because I know that we operate different from that other category of courts.
Okay. Well, Mr. Brew gonna figure all that out. I get that to us. But we need a new system. This thing is old and it's not able to track or get the right data necessary to deal with the issues of today. So I'm sure he'll get all that to us. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Oh, yes.
I'm sorry to
Vice
prolong
President.
this, but I did want to ask a question about the grants, the positions reallocated from grants. It's a high number. It's 3.6 million from grants in a total budget of 36 million. So it's notable. I'm just wondering what kinds of positions were being funded, and are there any grants in the pipeline? I mean, just because that's such a significant portion of your budget.
Yeah. 38 of those people are our probation staff. Our entire probation staff, we have in the past been able to use federal funds and state funds to be able to cover the cost of that. Some things changed in the law about 2 years ago, which made it impossible for courts in the state of Ohio to be able to draw down a particular type of federal funding that we had through 4E funding for accounting for the children that we had coming into our system, and we were utilizing the dollars to pay for our probation department. It's kind of a complicated system where we have to pay up front, but we're entitled to get reimbursement up to 60% for kids who were in placement. Then what we would do is we would reutilize that placement money to help support our probation department. That's no longer a possibility because of some changes in the interpretation of the federal law by the state of Ohio and the state Jobs and Family Services office. So it became a situation where we were talking about the funding portion that we were able to draw down, which was never consistent because it's, again, a complicated formula. You have to do a CANS assessment and other things, and then you can draw down a percentage of that, where the dollar return for what we had to expend in order to draw down those dollars became too significant that it didn't make financial sense for us to continue to do that. So we lost that flow of revenue. We looked then and tried to see if we could reutilize funds that we have available through our reclaim dollars through the state of Ohio and put at least a portion of our probation department in there. And that was our initial plan that we had presented to the county, but unfortunately, Department of Youth Services came back and they said that they would not allow us to use that category of funds in order to be able to pay for our probation department. Now, we could utilize other funds, but those are the dollars that we've committed to local community providers right now that we're working with that's doing the grassroots work within the community, such as the Positive Influence Team, Community Peace Builders Network, and other programming that we're utilizing to help kids in the community.
Commissioner Dumas, anything else?
Nothing else.
Okay. Thank you all very much. Wow, the whole room's getting out of here. Thank you all so much. Okay, next we have the Tax Incentive Review Council. Recommendations. Harry Blanton.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. I'm Harry Blanton with the Hamilton County Economic Development Office. Great to see all of you. Before you today, we have the recommendations of the Tax Incentive Review Council. For those at home who are unaware of what the Tax Incentive Review Council is, it's a body that reviews our tax incentive programs every year, every agreement that we have with each company to make sure that the companies are complying with their agreements. We have 7 members of the Tax Incentive Review Council. That includes 2 from the local community. So for instance, if it's in Colerain, it would be 2 members from Colerain. There are a representative from the school district, 3 appointees from the county commissioners, and then 1 representative from the auditor's office. We always like to give an overview of the total program in aggregate on how it's performing for the enterprise zone. As you can see, the 3 major metrics of the program are real property, personal property, and employment. And in each case, the agreements have exceeded the goals. And then for the community investment area program, we have a similar situation where the property investments have exceeded the goals and the employment is substantially meeting the goal, but is a little bit short. And I'll explain that in a second. It's primarily 1 agreement that is short. As we like to do also every year to let you know what's coming back onto the tax rolls, the 3 agreements that are expiring will return $150,000 to the tax rolls. I will point out that if you agree with all these recommendations there will be an additional $213,000, so it would be $365,000, I believe, that goes back on the tax rolls. We're going to talk mostly about the agreements that are not in compliant today, but we also like to point out that all of these agreements are being continued by the Tax Incentive Review Council with their recommendation. Obviously, you have the final decision. So in the enterprise zone agreement, we're recommending modification of an enterprise zone agreement with Modal Shop in Evendale, and I'll give you more detail in a second. 3 of the agreements are expiring this year, so those are the ones that are going back on the tax roll. And then we're also recommending a rescinding of an agreement with American Retail Corporation, otherwise known as Watson's. For the CRA program, there are only 5 agreements that we're recommending for continuation. There's 1 for modification called Hoarder, that's in Sims Township. And then the final 2 that we're recommending rescinding are 2 agreements that are associated with Northgate Mall. And when I say we, I mean the Tax Incentive Review Council, not Alloy. Again, I think we just kind of went through all of those. These are the 5 agreements that I'm going to go into more detail. For the American Retail Corporation, as I said, also called Watson's, this is their performance over the last 4 years. Just wanted to show a trending line. They had committed to retain 30 jobs and create 33 new jobs. As you can see, each year over the last 4 years, they struggled to meet those. And so in discussions with them, they felt like they were not going to be able to meet those goals. And so we are recommending rescinding their agreement. For the Modal Shop, this is also in Evendale. We are recommending a modification of their agreement. Again, it's a situation where they retained all of the jobs that they had agreed to, but they haven't been able to create all of the jobs that they had agreed to when the agreement was first signed. Porter Investment is in Sims Township. This company has struggled partially, if you remember, commissioners, they hired some 1099 employees over the years. We had a hard time accepting those as employees because they weren't paying taxes or they weren't collecting income tax. So, but this year they got close to their goal numbers. So the recommendation is to modify their agreement to reduce it by another year. As you can see from the detail, there have been modifications over the years, including reducing it from 10 years to 8, reducing the incentive from 50% down to 25%. So this is just one final modification in their final year to recognize their performance. And then finally, there's 2 agreements associated with Northgate Mall. If you remember, Coleraine Township came to us with a developer who was trying to reinvest into the mall to keep it functioning. There were 2 different agreements. One was for a theater, Escape Theater, which has now closed. So we are recommending rescinding this agreement. And then the final Northgate associated agreement is with a group called TNJ Retail Dill. This is the side of Northgate. If you remember, on Coleraine Avenue, they brought in some new stores like Michael's, Ulta Beauty Supply, and there was a third one I'm not remembering. It's Michael's, Ulta, and then yes, DSW Shoes. Thank you. So that was related to those agreements. Those companies or, this agreement has been fulfilled for all the term of the agreement, but there's a new owner for that part of the property, and they said that they do not think they'll be able to continue be able to create the jobs that it says. So it's a complete new owner. The previous owner met all of the goals for all of the years. So since they don't want to participate in the agreement anymore, we are recommending rescinding the agreement. So I'm happy to entertain any questions.
Thank you very much. I'll open it up, Vice President Dreehouse.
Thanks, Harry, for the presentation. So help me understand the difference between the Watson's agreement and the model agreement. Neither of them are living up to the employee piece for new employees that they were supposed to hit. And one is being recommended for getting rid of it, and the other one we're changing it. So what is the difference here? I'm missing it. Unless Watson said we no longer want to participate because we know we're not going to reach these goals, as opposed to Model, who may have said, well, we're still trying, we still want to hit part of this, and so you're refiguring the agreement.
Right. So I believe part of it is that Watson's has been non-compliant for many years. It shows just the past 4 years, so but it's been a longer agreement than just the past 4. And I think you're right that they just decided that they're not going to be able to meet the goals, so they're okay with rescinding it. I'm trying to find the page that gives that detail, and I think it says in there that they had no problem with rescinding it.
So this is, in other words,
right,
mutually agreed upon.
Correct.
As opposed to Model, who still wants to try.
Yes, and with Watson's, they said, we're just not going to be able to meet those jobs, so why come back every year and take advantage of that? So.
Okay, that answers my question.
Answer your question. Okay, Commissioner Dumas.
Thank you. Thanks for your presentation. I was wondering about the last one. I just lost it. Had a lot of letters in front. TNG Retail, and they have a new owner. They don't want to participate. Seems like to me, and they exceeded what they were supposed to do, far beyond what they were supposed to do. And it would really be to their advantage to continue it, unless they're going to do something totally different to that property.
And that's what we're not. I'm sorry. Go ahead. That we're not sure about exactly what their plans are, but they're saying that they're not sure they can meet those job commitments anymore. It is a new owner, so maybe they have a different view of what they're going to do with the property. But you're right that the previous owner met the goals throughout the term of the agreement. It's been around for about 10 years, so it's not that much left on the agreement, but they just said that they didn't want to participate in it.
So if they wanted to, could we have a new agreement for the new owners, or we would keep this same agreement?
I guess if they come to us with a request for an agreement because they have some project that's going to create jobs and make investment into the site, we could consider it. Obviously, Coleraine would be a part of that decision if they wanted to incentivize it.
That's all. And I wrote you a nice note.
I appreciate it. I did respond.
I can tell that the committee really worked through this, so thank you so much.
We appreciate your comments. Thank you.
Yeah, I just want to also thank you, because a lot of times when these agreements go out, people ask, is anybody looking at them, measuring them? And I just want to thank you, because there's been some other ones in the past that we as a board, you see it, no, they didn't meet the requirements, they're not creating the jobs, we can't continue. And their board went back and expressed that to them. So I'm happy that you and the board are keeping your eyes on these things, and also to the companies that say, I just can't meet. And but I don't know if they would say that if there wasn't a board that was checking and staying on top of it. So anyway, just wanted to thank you. What's the next steps on this?
So the next step is, I believe it'll be in front of you for final approval a week from Thursday. Okay. It's usually the model. Yeah.
A week from Thursday, okay.
The other thing here is that these members, I think their terms are expiring.
I think you're right.
I think all 3 of the county appointees' terms are expiring. So, Harry, do these individuals want to continue to serve? Do you know? Or
I think we've started conversation. I think some of them do. I think probably all, but I will definitely get back and let you know.
Just curious, as we thank them for helping us through this, I just wanted to bring that up as well.
Thank you.
And then one more time, what's the total amount that will be returning to the tax roll?
So it was
We'll have to pay tax.
in the presentation. It was just the ones that were expiring that was included. So that was 152, I think, thousand. But I asked my staff to let me know if all of these were approved, what would it be? So it's an additional 213,000. So that would be 365,000.
Okay, all right. All righty. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you, commissioners.
Next, our last presentation, the Green Bank update, and our sustainability manager. Here.
All right, hello, commissioners. I'm Julie Donna, Sustainability Manager for Hamilton County. Today, I will be giving a very brief introduction to the Green Bank project, and then I will be handing it over to our partners who will give a more depth presentation about the update. So I am thrilled to be in this new position of Sustainability Manager for Hamilton County and having the opportunity to leap forward with sustainability, with climate resilience, and with environmental justice within Hamilton County. So as you know, we do right now have a tremendous opportunity to really invest in energy efficiency, in sustainability, in solar and renewable energy and electrification of buildings and vehicles. And that's not just within the operations of Hamilton County, but that's really in every building that's in Hamilton County. So, and then most critically, we have an unprecedented funding opportunity through federal investments that are going to allow us to really catalyze this work and make sure that we are gaining the resources in Cincinnati and in Hamilton County to follow through with this funding. So with that, we have come together, all of these partners, to make sure that this funding is reaching the Hamilton County and reaching the proper communities that we want it to invest in. So we do have the partners of the Cincinnati Development Fund, of which we have Luke Blocker, who will be sharing in a little bit. We have the Cincinnati Business Committee, the Cincinnati Regional Business Committee. We have the City of Cincinnati, the Port, which we have Andrew Garth here. And of course, Hamilton County has been a partner since very early on, even before I was in my position with Brad Johnson in Environmental Services, also taking on a leadership role. And last but not least, we do have Donovan Energy as a contractor for this project, gaining the expertise, vast expertise of the energy and financing world that Donovan Energy has. And with that, I will turn it over to Andy Holzhauser with Donovan Energy, who will be sharing the first part of this update.
Good afternoon. Very nice to be with you. Thank you for the time today to talk a little bit about one of my favorite topics, the Green Bank, and the efforts that many have put in. The first slide here is to just underscore the generational amount of funding that is becoming available and just starting to settle in many cases, first through the state and then into our local community. There are billions of dollars. It is far beyond any funding levels from the federal perspective that we've ever seen being invested into clean energy. And there are a variety of different forms and fashions that it takes, grants, tax incentives, low interest financing. We're working on all of them, and we'll be talking a little bit more about a couple of funding streams by name, just given their significance to our neighbors right here in the county. The first is a program at a scale of $250 million. It's called the Home Efficiency Rebate Program. It is U.S. Department of Energy IRA funding pushing down through the Ohio Department of Development. That program is releasing and going to go live probably somewhere in the next 6 months. On the next slide, a lot on here, but a couple of points to emphasize. Another big program and another big focus of the efforts here within the coalition putting together the Green Bank is a $27 billion, the single largest non-tax funding stream out of the entire IRA. $27 billion, the Greenhouse Gas Reduction Fund. That program itself comes out in 3 different sub-programs, I guess we can say. just say this, the two programs, the left and middle column programs, that $20 billion have been invested into 8 national nonprofit organizations, into low interest lending, into investing more capital, into projects that have financing gaps. We are working actively to secure capital, portions of that capital in our own backyard. The third column, the column to the right, is a little bit more focused on subsidy for Solar for All, a program called Solar for All, investing solar subsidy and low interest financing again into both single family and multifamily residential settings. The underlying premise for all of these funds, and this is not unique to the energy funds, although a concept that certainly has perhaps made its way through the commission here, is the Justice 40 focus. So that is to say that a goal of certainly all of these energy funds and much of the federal funding that we've talked about is that at least 40% of those funds are invested into low income and disadvantaged communities, or communities that have historically suffered a greater amount of climate justice issues over time. And so by extension of that, that is certainly a heavy focus. Now, there's a map that helps define these communities inside of the county. These are many of the same communities that have been focus of new market tax credits, low income tax credits, and other programs like that, but only to underscore the importance of these funds. And specifically, some of these energy programs, like Solar for All, for example, is 100% focused on low income and disadvantaged communities. And so there's no question that a greater amount of clean energy deployment has to be seen in our own backyard. And so given this incredible scale of funding, the question is, among other things, how does our county, how does our region respond? And so the response has been a collaboration led by those that Julie referenced earlier into formulating the Cincinnati Green Bank, and specifically developing expansions of existing programs and creation of new programs that helps leverage considerable tax incentives, grants, and low-cost financing with an underlying premise of advancing beneficial policy to drive a lot more investment in clean energy. And we're talking about homes in our neighborhoods and multifamily buildings and nonprofits and others in our neighborhoods, ultimately. And so these funds are coming down from a variety of federal agencies through a variety of state agencies. And at the end of the day, we're working really hard to develop this premise that Luke will talk a little bit more about around a one-stop shop, a center of excellence, a brain trust, if you will, but programmatically and systematically braiding these funds together so that subsidy and other resources can be maximized, whether it's a single-family homeowner just trying to get a $5,000 or $10,000 energy efficiency upgrade, or a project of much greater scale. I'll turn it over to Luke.
Thank you, commissioners. It's great to be here as always, and I appreciate you all taking the time to get this update. I know you're getting in the middle of a lot of really important budgetary work, and also just appreciate your work on that as a citizen. To Andy's point, we're really here to give a sort of big picture overview of where this project is in as it sort of gets moving. We hope to be back again with greater and more updates and details, but I think for now we just wanted to make sure we're providing the latest and greatest on where we are as we move through the process. But as Andy really mentioned, the big goal here is to say, how do we as a region coordinate to take advantage of this big new opportunity, of this brand new investment that's coming from the federal government primarily, and how do we position ourselves to take advantage of it? And so that's really the effort that we've been undertaking. And this, where we are today, started really at the end of 2023, when there was an effort to get together amongst several stakeholders, including county government, the city government, Cincinnati Development Fund, the Port Authority, and the CBC and CRBC, to say, let's just get our heads together and start thinking about how can we get ready for this? What do we need to do? What assets do we have now? What assets do we need to build? And what's the team that has to get put together for this? And we engaged Donovan and Andy. Hopefully it comes through, and you all know for other reasons, but they really are the experts locally to understand this better than anybody, and are networked in nationally to the folks who are making a lot of these decisions and who are going to help this go forward. So that process started at the end of last year. We formalized a relationship with Donovan through that steering committee, all those partners, and then we started on the work. And the second part of this presentation, real quick, will just be sort of talking through that quickly. Again, we can obviously answer any questions that folks have, but this is meant as a high-level overview. This is sort of the phase one. I think this is gonna, there we go. This is sort of the phase one of this past year of effort, which really is around doing the stakeholder engagement, doing the research analysis, understanding what the rules are gonna be, which are still in development, frankly, around some of the use of these funds. I think many of you were at a forum we had in March with 150 or so folks to work on this issue. We had a subsequent forum with developers specifically to sort of pick their brains on this. Phase one of the Donovan report came out in the middle of the year, and now we're sort of launching into the second phase of this effort. At the top there, you'll saw, and Andy mentioned this, all along the same time, we're getting further clarity on where are these federal funds coming from, what are the rules around them, what are the national groups that are going to be controlling them. All that stuff really just in the month of August got finalized from the contracts between the federal government and these national groups, and now that's coming down and being communicated more to folks like us. And then, real quick, the sort of big picture again, just where we are. This work all got together, and there were really two sort of roads you could take. One would be to say, let's start a whole new organization, hire a bunch of people to coordinate this work. Or can we try to leverage existing groups that are doing work that's related through coordination? And I think the decision was made. We had enough of a core sort of element of people doing work that was adjacent to this, that could align with this, that it wasn't the right investment to try to start up a new organization. It might take who knows how long to get going, but rather let's leverage existing work that's being done at CDF, at the port, inside the governments. And there's a lot of different elements that are happening to touch on this inside of all those places. And so part of the effort here is just coordinating those so they're happening together as much as possible. And so a recommendation is to go that direction, to do this through a steering committee, make a more formal alignment, and then really focus on what we can do in the near term while we build capacity, what we do in the long term. What I mean by that is there are things that we're doing at CDF, there are things that the port is doing, there are things the city and the county are doing that we can sort of lean a little further out on and start that are in this space, and let's start doing that to demonstrate the value of this coordination while we build the capacity to do some of the bigger things that are possible through these federal funds while we're waiting for those rules to be sorted out. And again, an element of this is prioritizing all these new incentives. So ideally, as Andy mentioned, from a sort of one-stop shop theoretical idea, that we have a point where if people want to invest and take advantage of these new subsidies, we can help them understand what the opportunities are. It's new to everybody. There is no playbook that exists. It has to be written. So that's a big part of the effort here is to do that. I won't go into great detail here, but just as an example, there are several types of financing products that, through this work over the past year, we think are opportunities in the near term because they're sort of extensions of work that's already being done, both by the port and CDF and others. So it will allow for hopefully sort of moving on these things in the nearer term and getting this into the market. Really just to conclude, we're in this phase 2 of the Donovan report, as I mentioned. They are still engaged with the steering committee, but I think we're also leaning much more in from all the organizations that are involved to really start doing some more very specific work. So one is really around establishing a formalized sort of governance model for this relationship, and then really getting into actually devising these financing products, which was also going to tie into how we apply for these federal funds that are available. And then Donovan is going to continue also on continuing helping us with community engagement to continue to mold these ideas. And really the last thing I'll say is, if you boil all that down, hopefully into sort of 3 pillars of a strategic approach to this, the first is that we want to really focus on expanding the type of work that CDF is doing already in partnership with the county and any others around affordable housing finance, for example. We're also doing that kind of work around nonprofit facilities, mixed-use buildings, through the New Market Tax Credit Program, and things like that. Leveraging these types of lending to go into those projects to make more energy efficiency go into those projects already. So it's really leveraging the existing work that's already being done by the county, by us, and by many others. So focusing on that as a specific focus in the areas we're already working. Working on the single-family home focus through the port's existing portfolio of homes they own and are building, because it's a much more specific way to get at going to an individual homeowner through the port who's a individual homeowner of multiple homes, hundreds of homes. And then really focusing on this incentive coordination idea, because there are several incentives across many different agencies that if they can be coordinated, even at some basic level, it could have a huge impact. And we believe we have the ability with all the people at the table to do that. I think that's it for that. Again, this is meant to be, we sort of blazed through a lot here. It's been a long day for you all, I know. We just wanted to give you some basics, let you ask any question you wanted to, but also just some big context. So as we keep talking about this, you guys have gotten some grounding into where we are.
Thank you. I'll open it up. Vice President Dree.
Yeah, thanks to all of you for the presentation. It's great to get an update because the county is in on this one, right? And Julie, you are evidence of that, sitting here in the flesh and blood about our commitment to sustainability and moving into a green future for Hamilton County. So I'm really grateful for the update related to the partnership because sometimes we are not always kept up to speed on everything that's going on. So really grateful for that and looking forward to seeing how we leverage these dollars. I mean, it's a great opportunity. As Andy said, it's a once in a lifetime. It reminds me of the ARPA money. You know, it's one of these that you never know if it's going to come again. And so thank you for helping us leverage those dollars.
Commissioner Dumas.
Thank you for your presentation. As we try to get some of these dollars, who's actually writing the grants to make this happen?
Well, it sort of reflects that sort of partnership proposal. So there are some of these funds that are available to organizations like CDF. So we will be applying for that. There are some funds that are available only to governments, and so that is happening inside the governmental level. At I believe the city and county both. There are similarly, and sort of the port is in that similar sort of quasi governmental like zone. So really, right now we have that all being coordinated when those as the rules about what you can apply for become available. So for instance, the funding that I just mentioned is possibly for an organization like CDF. It was only just I think last Wednesday that they gave us a preliminary outline of here's what it's going to look like when we can start applying, more details to come. So there's a lot of it still in flux too.
And so that was my question, that all of these partners would not, for every grant, put in for every grant. It would be specific to you or the port or whatever. So, Donovan Energy, I mean, who are they? I never heard of them. And how do we end up, instead of Duke Energy, how do we end up with Donovan? I know there's a reason. So.
Yeah, well, I'm happy to let Donovan Energy themselves answer that question.
Okay, yeah. That's fine.
I mean, we can tell you, yeah, but I think it'll make sense when they explain sort of what they do.
Commissioner Dumas, thanks for the question. We're a local energy finance and project development consultancy. We're based downtown here, right off Fountain Square. We're about 9 years old. I'm the co-owner of the firm along with my colleague, Tim Donovan. And so we have operated as a firm and us professionally in the clean energy space for a couple of decades. Mm-hmm. And so it's thankfully, we're not competing, we Donovan, much less this effort is not competing against Duke in any way, or in fact, there's a number of ways, and I think we've identified this within our kind of Green Bank program development and partnership development, that there's a lot of ways that this kind of Green Bank infrastructure, this collaborative cross-organizational infrastructure can benefit a number of things that Duke has set forth around increasingly cleaning their grid, the potential, pending state legislation, to bring back energy efficiency rebate programs, and the complementary nature of those energy efficiency rebate programs if they were brought back as it relates to everything we're working on now together. And so it is, we're looking at the world in a complementary way. Duke's been at the table. They've been aware and in attendance at a number of things that have been put forward, and over time could be a really big partner for growth.
Okay. So did you complete like a RFP to be a part of this, or how did that work? How did you end up being involved? I know I hear about your decades of experience. How did that happen?
Well, for us, we've been in these conversations with the group going back for well over a year now, and was ultimately, as you all may know, but within the six organization collaboration, the contracting agency on behalf of those six organizations is the port. I could let maybe Andrew, if you wanted to address any more in detail, but we're contracted by the port on behalf of the six organizations to support the work.
Okay, that clarifies some things for me. Thank you, I appreciate it. That's all I have.
Thank you. Thank you for the presentation. I support going green. Obviously, I got green on. But when I was at Central State, I was at the state legislature, and we were dealing with Central State and looking at the green energy component. A lot of times we're sold on, the people are sold with, you need to go green. But there's another group of people trying to make greenbacks, money in this situation. And so I guess my question is, in our county, what I don't want, and I'll just tell you that, and I feel like we're moving in that direction, where we're creating what you call shadow government, where the people who actually have to go out and get elected, there's an election now. Myself, I had to go out and get over 200,000 votes to get here, but not only to get here and then just turn it over to all of these entities that we keep creating. And I've been at this thing for 30 years. Whether it's at City Hall, we had created 3CDC, I went with it, but as we got further, it became more than Over the Rhine. It became all of downtown. We've got CDF. I was at the beginning of creating CDF. It started as going to help small businesses. Now CDF is in the home business, built in terms of housing. Now we're in housing. Now we're getting ready to go into green. And so what I want to make sure, is a good thing I liked about what happened with the ARPA money is that the elected officials in Washington, Biden-Harris administration, put the money back to the elected officials on the ground. So we all got a say in what we wanted to put our money in, versus them saying we're going to create an entity, and that entity will be in charge, even though we're elected. So I don't want to confuse the idealism of going green and good green environment with now somebody's getting ready to get paid. That's the greenback, not the green bank. I guess that's why it's called a bank. So we first came to the county and said, we need to go green. And Mr. Brugan can correct me if I'm wrong. We had the gentleman that retired, can't think of his name, he was here way before me, who came in and made the presentation, who handles all our facilities. And really, the county was already ahead, but didn't have the marketing. I'm a marketer myself. Didn't have the marketing of Green Bank. Didn't have the fancy words. But the county was already doing this. We're saving money on all the energy of all the facilities that we own. We were ahead of most municipalities. But we didn't give him credit because a new group came and said, we got a group, and now we're the in crowd. And he's retired, so now his record is washed away, and now they say, let's get into something new. So I'm a little concerned when I see this. It's the same Fab Five that has been running this whole county. And honestly, for 234 years, we've been an ATM for a lot of these initiatives. You bring the same Fab Five. It's got to be the Port Authority. It's either 3CDC. It has all these people, CDF now. But at the end, here comes the funder, the real funder, the government. And now that's why the city and the county is included. So for me, I don't want to create an entity where these elected officials in Washington said we're going to have inflation reduction money. I prefer them send the money directly to us. And then we as a board, we can have public hearings. We'll make sure, because the people can hold us accountable. They can't vote for you. They can't vote you out. They can't get you if it ain't right. That's what I've been hearing from people that are complaining. We've got all these entities. We got a port. If they don't like what the port is doing, they can't vote them out. We done turned everything over to them. We've turned everything over to 3CDC. If they don't like what they're doing, they can't vote them out. CDF, we put your housing, and I appreciate that, and we're doing some good things, but honestly, I don't want to see you unless we talking about where's the $30 million. Let's get some more housing up. We've done some, but we haven't spent all the money. But now we're off to a new idea. Then they told us, let's just do a resolution. It always starts with that. Do it a resolution. We're going to be a part of the green umbrella. We did a resolution. Then we hired, I don't want to hire her, and all she doesn't have the power. I want her to have the power, because she has to report back to us. I don't want her part of some 15, 20 member group and she don't have the power. We did something remarkable. We've already put our money in. We put our money in hiring somebody that's supposed to be looking for these grants and all these things to bring back. So I'm a little nervous because every time it starts with just a resolution, you don't have to worry about it. Then it start with, oh, can we just have a meeting? Don't worry about it. Then it start with, wait a minute, we're just gonna have a little discussion. Don't worry about it. Then I think, I'm not sure, Mr. Brugan, correct me if I'm wrong, we put in some money to this, $30,000 or whatever. Then we talk about, Commissioner Dumas had a good point. Is there an RFP? When we show up, when African Americans show up, it's an RFP. Heck, I'm just trying to get, we voted to look into amateur sports. We said we'll look into it. It's only $7,000 to include basketball to be looked into. An administrator said he can't do it, but then we come back with a green thing, $30,000, and now you're gonna ask for some more money. The only reason people want the county and the city at the table is because of the people's money. And so I'm just a little concerned because we have a new position. It hasn't been a year yet. We haven't let her come in and bring us something directly. And now we're also talking about green banks, developers, unelected board. We're gonna only invest in 40% of the money would go to impoverished communities. Well, where does 60% going? And then when you looked at places that we use the poverty numbers, but it's gentrified. Evanston ain't the old Evanston. West End ain't the old West End no more. So when we use those numbers and say, oh, we're gonna invest in the West End, and then the people in the West End ain't even there no more. So I wanna be a little more cautious than I've been in the past, a little bit younger then. People give me a little, thing, I would go along with it, but I was young enough to still be living to see some of these things, and I gotta ask a lot more questions. So I'm just gonna put that out there that yes, conceptually, I'm with green. Yes, I want to have a green society, but nobody, I'll be honest with you, nobody gave a damn about black folks down in the West End putting garbage in an incinerator. There should be a lawsuit. It should be. And if it wasn't for this board, to be honest, we still have the gun range going. Well, it's still going, but we're gonna shut it down. Still going, environmental injustice out in Lincoln Heights. And it wasn't all, I didn't see the green people running out there to say that this was injustice. We ran out there, the politicians, the elected officials, because the people can vote for us. So this is not to put anything down, but again, it just looks like, oh, there's some money that the government's gonna, this is government. You didn't say private, this is the government. They've got this money, and let's get our people, here we go. Inflation Reduction Act, that's the government. Bipartisan Infrastructure Law, that's the government. American Rescue Plan, that's the government. CHIPS program, the government, and we're trying to get in place so the money got to run through this entity, and this entity could decide who are going to be the developers, and this entity is going to decide who gets the contracts with no RFPs. This entity is going to decide where the money goes. That's what we're doing now. New market credits, only certain people can get them. So they become the power. Government tools. And then we got to go out here and face these citizens who say, listen, my taxes is too high for my house. They're running me out the neighborhood. I can't afford it. So I am very cautious to create a shadow government where we go out and get elected and we're just a shadow of a government. The real government is these entities that's got the new market credits, that's got all the money with the developers, that gets to decide where we're going. Don't have to face the people ever. I don't know if I want to go that route at this time. So maybe there's something else as you're developing it. I'll keep an open mind, but I wanted to put those issues on the table because people are saying it everywhere I go. These people are elected, but they don't, but the real people making all the decisions is behind the curtains. And I don't want that. I want, if they don't like something, The people have the power to do something about it. They can get rid of the people. And everybody that's making decisions with government money should be in a position to be getting rid of if the people don't like it. So that's where I'm looking for a structure that has that. But lately we got these same partners. The Donovan, you're new, but all these same partners is a cut and paste when some government money is available. And I think it's a slippery slope. So as we're in the new part of this, I think we still can do a lot of things. We've hired a very competent person, and I'd like to see the government send the money to Hamilton County, us, and then our people will get together and decide who's the best. We'll have RFP, we'll have a fair process, we'll have all of that, and we can decide who's the best to get these, to implement these things. So we would have appropriate checks and balances. Right now, there's no checks and balances. We've got the people deciding where the money goes and then managing the money and then overseeing the money. Is no checks and balances. We've got that going now. We've got it going with a lot of things. The land bank, we got the Port Authority, they decide what goes in it, then they end up running the port, they run the land bank, then who gets to get the land bank, and then, I mean, it's just, we got it, we can't keep setting up things like that. So that's what my thoughts are. And you say, what's her thoughts off the cuff? That's my thoughts off the cuff. And even in here, Hamilton County, little bitty Hamilton County, we real little over here. But then when it's time to give the money, we real big. So we just got to do it different. That's my thought.
Well, I appreciate that. I appreciate that, laying all that out, and I think the idea of not creating a shadow government is one that understood, and I think that's a very important point. And I want to be clear that that's not in any way the intent here. But it will be on us to continue to, provide updates and to work with the county administration. I will say that in some instances, I think it is important to say that the rules about where these funds flow and how they go are set by the federal government. So the federal government says this pot of money is to go to local government. That's who applies for it. That's who administers it. This pot of money is to go to a CDFI type organization like CDF, for example. This pot of money is to go through other local entities. We are not setting that. We are reacting to that. And the premise here is to say, we don't know yet how all these things are going to shake out. We want to make sure we have everybody coordinated at a basic level so that we can do this together as much as possible and take the maximum advantage of this for the benefit of Hamilton County. And to make sure that as we do that, the governments are right in the middle of that discussion, that there's not a discussion happening over here and the city and county governments and other governments aren't part of that, right?
Yeah, no, I understand that, but I would recommend the federal government, and let's wait till after November 5th. But what the federal government should do is what they did with ARPA. And I thought they did a really good job. And they released it to the county. And some got to the city. And we then, after review, we said your entity would do the housing. But to get together, and then we go up here with this, no, my number one would be they should give it to the county. The government should give it to the people that are elected by the citizens of this county. I think they did with the ARPA, I think we did an amazing job as a board. And we partnered with a lot of people. So it ain't that we can't partner. We have partnered. But one thing we did, we made sure the money got to the people. And we diversified our partnerships. We've diversified. Some went to CDF. Some others, we went to some local nonprofits. Some smaller nonprofits got in on the game to help. And we got the money better to the people. We created our own bus. We did things. But the entity you're talking about, we always did it. New market tax credits, y'all got together, and new market tax credits. And not everybody's happy with all the projects. Not the citizens. Not people. Some citizens aren't happy that they got priced out of their neighborhoods. They got moved out. They got gentrified. So we got to have a balance. And then even the egotistical thing came out. Well, we could tell you what to do, just stamp it and go on. I want to get rid of that. I think the ARPA model was the right model. And we were able to partner with public and private, and we have results. And we were at the table, not just one of 15. We were leading the table because we're elected to lead the table. So that's where I'm coming from. So I don't want to leave out and say, oh, we got at the table, we can't do. No, ARPA did it. They did it. And we're working with you. And we're working with the port. We fund the port. We're working with a lot of people. We work with the port on the housing that they got a chance to buy. We were in on helping so they can move forward with it. So we're partnering, but we can't come from a position of what we've been doing before, which creates almost a shadow government. And all of these entities got all the money, all the resources, and all we are is just, we stamp it and say, man, isn't this a great concept? That's where I'm coming from. I think ARPA has changed the game, and I think I would be willing to have our lobbyists and talk to Washington about how we did it down here in Hamilton County. And we brought everybody to the table. So that's all I'm saying. And we'll see what these rules are. I mean, they passed this stuff a long time ago. I don't know where the money is. They've been saying it. So obviously the money has not rolled down here yet, and we still got time. So we'd love to continue to work with all of you on it, but I know you will be at the table and keep us more abreast. Now we got somebody that's there every day. So thank you.
Thank you.
If I could offer just one additional, thank you for your comments. I really appreciate them, Commissioner. But I want to say that the internal operational energy efficiency has definitely not been forgotten, and the wonderful contributions over the many years of Ralph Linney as the facilities director has been such a amazing bedrock to be now coming in and enhancing these sustainability efforts. And that's I just wanted to name and acknowledge his work, and of course the entire facilities team. And now I'm going to continue working with our interim director Bert and the whole facilities department for our own internal sustainability, as well as making sure that this is reaching homes and businesses across the county. So and we also are members through our facilities of the 2030 district, and we've been longtime members who are really leading the way in that visionary energy reduction and greenhouse gas emissions reduction. And now I'm actually a part of that advisory council for the 2030 district. So looking at even more how we can provide the training, resources, information, technical assistance to our own facilities departments and facilities across the county and beyond on really how they can step up and be even more so leaders in the county for energy and sustainability.
Thank you. I'm glad you wrote the name of Ralph on my brain.
Didn't want him to be forgotten.
Yeah, Ralph is the one. I just want people to know the county was a leader, has been a leader. Okay, well.
I had a question.
Wait a minute. Yeah. What is going? I'm up here saying, I'm saying Mr. Brugan will tell us. Mr. Brugan.
Yeah, right.
Mr. Jeff Aludo is here.
Well, I had yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay. I just wanted to know who is considered the lead on this group,
Who's the leader?
Because I know Donovan went out to talk to stakeholders and all. Who's the lead?
So we have a steering committee that has all the members that are on there. We meet weekly with multiple members of that, and Donovan helps facilitate that. Where we're doing right now is sort of moving into this next phase of how do we set up a governance structure that has something like a lead or anything like that. We're still figuring that out. Some of that has to do with the elements of where the funding is available, how it can be done, and what the right way to coordinate is.
Yeah, but when you have a meeting, who says we come to order, we'll start discuss? Who's that person?
The Donovan team is sort of leading these weekly meetings where we talk through agenda items, and again, it's a really fast-moving target. For a while, it was no movement, and we were waiting around, and now all of a sudden, we're getting hit fast and furious with eligibility and potential programs, and so we're all digesting that right now.
So thank you for that. You indicated earlier, say for instance, if there was a grant that you thought CDF should apply for. So with the group, look at whatever the grant is and say, CDF, I think this will be a better fit for you? Who would make that decision in the group?
I don't know that I think the idea of the steering committee and the coordination is we're going to all be sort of talking together about this, and there's not one person who gets one group or entity that gets to decide for anybody else. But there's an effort to be in communication so that we're coordinating what we're doing together, and when there are opportunities to coordinate, we do that.
So as we look at our ability to apply for something, say, who would you say this sounds like a better fit for Hamilton County to apply for versus the port? You would say that during the group? Yeah, we would have. And then the group would decide, okay.
But the question today, you're saying you're gonna move to a more structured approach. So it would be an entity, right? And then everything, kind of like we have the Port Authority handles, you would become an entity where things will flow through that entity, right?
I think the fundamental premise, and I know this is a little bit, it's not as sort of rigid as a normal structure, because the fundamental premise is there needs to be coordination between all these governments and these nonprofit entities together, right? And we have to set up a way to have that basic level of coordination. And then but there will be, each group will be doing individual things, potentially, pursuing individual grants, offering individual programs. But then that entity will engage in working to coordinate between those different services and programs. And so I think what we're moving towards is there being some sort of like a sort of advisory board that is just meeting and continuing the steering committee concept to continue to meet, coordinate, and then ultimately, if it makes sense from an application perspective, have like an actual green bank 501c3 entity that people can be members of and coordinate through that body. But it fundamentally is about coordinating amongst the existing entities, coordinating the efforts of everybody listed on the group together. That's the goal.
Mr. Ludo, I'm sorry, are you done? Mr. Ludo, you had something to add for me?
Yeah, no, just to, and I'm sorry, I forgot how to talk with masks on. So just a quick note, so to emphasize Luke's point, I think as the administration has followed and this initiative along, I think step one has been kind of the table setting for this to understand the opportunities that are out there. As we are moving potentially into step two here, I think that's where a lot of where the rubber is going to really hit the road in terms of trying to figure out which of those opportunities are out there. How do we set up a network so that those opportunities, that everyone is made aware of those opportunities and that the funding flows effectively through the right channels? Because we have Julie, but there's so much of this out there. There's hundreds of billions of dollars that I think relying upon that network of brain power and all these different groups would be very helpful to the county, at least in terms of understanding those opportunities and then determining what types of programs do we want to do. I know as we thought about this in the administration, we know how important it is to the board to continue to work on everything we've done on the home repair program and senior assistance and providing some of these funding sources that can actually be directed into energy improvements that can have real financial benefits for residents of Hamilton County is maybe something that we want to really focus on. So we'll be looking for opportunities for direct energy conservation grants that might flow from some of these sources into those uses. So I guess where I'm going with this, commissioners, is just to say that this is kind of where that real work is going to start, and and so I want to follow up with the commission because I want to make sure that that we are following the lead of the board in terms of what type of participation we want to have in this next step.
Yeah, no, and I think it needs to be out in the open because we don't get to talk to each other, and I understand you want to talk to each of us individually. I know your goal is, you always tell me that you're not supposed to be selling us anything, you just give us the facts, but I like it to be out in the open. I think that we did not replace Ralph with Julie. Ralph had a different position. Now, we came with this position with Julie because you said that person is going to keep up with what's out there, what we can apply for. And of course, we've got grant writers and everything. But I hope that we're not trying to sell us on a concept, because what had happened every meeting that I'm hearing of lately, it's always these same entities. You've got to go to a meeting, it's the Port Authority, it's all the same groups that you got on this piece of paper, and then it's the county, and it always ends up the county. They want a little bit. You say it's a little bit of money, 30,000, just a little bit of money, and then it just keeps going. I want this out in the open if we're going to, because I thought the sustainability person, that's what they were doing. They weren't doing Ralph's job. Ralph kept us, making sure that the light bulbs and all that kind of stuff. But this is why we said we created this position. Now you're saying this position ain't enough. We got to go out. We got to get, and there's no money currently on the table. We've been dealing with these laws have been passed for a couple years now, and not one dime has been on the table. So I'm interested in what can the county get. Now, what the private people go and get, I mean, that's something different. I'm interested in what's available for the county. We pay lobbyists. You got a lobbyist in D.C. we paying. We got a sustainability coordinator. We got somebody that's over. That's what he does. He's over environmental, been doing a great job. Now, I'm not, so I just think whatever you have to say, I want to say it out on TV, in the open, with the people, and not in my office, then each individual office. Because then I don't get to hear their questions, and they don't get to hear my questions. And then the people don't get to hear the questions. Now, we put up 30,000, I think, on this. And I don't know, and I
think it was 15.
Was it 15,000, whatever it was, I don't know what it was. But we put some money up in there.
Or 10 or 15, yeah.
Huh?
10 is 10 actually, yeah.
Well, we put up some money more. I've been asking for something that's $7,000 you can't get done. So I'm just saying, I like for it. I'm glad we had this today. I think conceptually, yes, but as far as creating another 3CDC entity or another CDF entity, that for me requires it to be a little more out there in the public. I did go and speak at stuff, but I thought we were just, like they said, meeting and coordinating. I didn't know any money was involved. I didn't know any structure was going to be involved, because I thought we hired the sustainable manager, first time ever, and that's what we were going to focus on, what's available that we can get and apply for.
And I appreciate that, Commissioner. And I just
And you have grant people too. We also hired, we got a whole grant office.
Absolutely. I would just say, having come from the environmental field, that we can hire 5 sustainability managers, and the world of environmental improvement and energy conservation is so wide ranging. It really does require all of these organizations pulling in the same direction to make this work. So that's and it's no replacement, completely different than what Ralph or the facilities director is doing internally. This, I think, is going to be much more. There is going to be an internal focus to some of Julie's work, but a lot of it's going to be externally facing as well for the community. Right. So
yeah, my only thing is when you were over it, you didn't have a sustainability manager when you were there. But I'm just saying, let's see some results from that position that we've created. We haven't given it a chance to have any type of quote unquote results because he just got here. So all I'm saying is, for me, I told you this and I'm saying it publicly. I don't want shadow government. And that's the way that we've been leaning when I look up how our county has been functioning, how the cities are functioning now. And it wasn't functioning like this years ago, but it's shadow government. The people that's getting elected, we're giving away all our power. And we then cannot, if a citizen is not happy with something, they can't get to these other people. They can get to us. And I want to be able to have an answer. I think the ARPA model, which is just happened, the ARPA model works. And I wanted to see if we set anything up, can we set it up like we did with the ARPA model? And you had outreaches and, even with affordable housing. We gave you the authority to go out and bring everybody to the table, but we were doing it in a
and well, not to belabor this point, but just a quick point on that, and maybe to provide an example as to how this might work. But I remember not in ARPA, but back in what was called ERA, back in 2011, I think it was the Relief Act, back in the recession. And there were multiple programs that flowed down through that. And a lot of them, there were some energy programs that flowed through that. One of them was the energy efficiency and conservation block grant. The county received those dollars. It came to the county just like an ARPA grant would have. And from there, we did take those dollars and we went out and we did a community stakeholder building process and said, how are we going to use these dollars? And actually gave money to a lot of different communities to do energy improvements. So my point being, yes, I think as we find these opportunities, there are going to be ways to take these and do the type of stakeholder building processes and have the board and the county lead some of these projects directly.
Good, because we got a bold board. This board has really been doing it.
I would like to just weigh in
Yeah,
just a little
sure,
bit.
yeah, Vice President.
So, again, this is a collaborative approach to getting federal dollars into this community, period. For me, period. I want to be part of the effort. I want some of the money to come to Hamilton County. That's why we're part of it. And I don't want to have this list of all these organizations and not have Hamilton County on there, because I feel like then we miss out, because we don't have the capacity to go into all these different funding bills and try to figure out what we can apply for and what that's what the group is for, is to help leverage and bring money to Hamilton County. So that's my understanding of the effort. I hope I'm correct with the Green Bank, and then leveraging the public and the private together to bring even more dollars down to Hamilton County. So that's my understanding of the model. We can't tell the federal government we prefer the ARPA model. To my knowledge, I mean, I thought that was a great model myself, but that's just not how this one's going. And so we have to respond to what is being set forward by the feds and take advantage of what dollars are out there. And so I hope that we can leverage money to Hamilton County, specifically to county government, but also to the county in general through all these other organizations that are part of it.
Yeah, I think we all agree we want to bring more money down. And I'm willing to go to Washington and testify if necessary. But let's see what happens after November the 5th. No money's coming today or tomorrow. So thanks for the update. Commissioner Dumas, you
Just one last question. Jeff, the $7,500 that we agreed to allocate was for the purpose of being a part of this group, or
I believe there was 10,000 right up front.
Mm-hmm.
Was it?
Commissioners, can I just clarify the contract piece? So the Port
Identify yourselves, because you didn't speak yet.
I'm Andrew Garth. I'm the General Counsel of the Port Authority. And I think I can answer some of your questions around the contract and the amount, because we help to facilitate the conversation between these different parties. So the idea here was to bring together a group of people who are already working on different aspects of the federal funding potential, and to have them coordinate so that we could work together, amplify, leverage our efforts, and speak with one voice as a region, which makes us much more competitive as a county. So that was the general idea. So what we did is we said, well, how much is this going to cost? We got multiple proposals. The cheapest proposal, by the way, was Donovan Energy. We entered into a contract with them. The first phase was for $60,000. The port gave $15,000. CDF gave $15,000. CBC gave $15,000. And then the city and the county covered the other $15,000. And that's the model that we've talked about so far. So it's actually the public parties, the city and the county, are very much focused on their agendas, their programs, their grants, their work, and we're trying to lift that up. But we're not asking for additional funding other than what is necessary in order to have some skin in the game for everyone who is part of the steering committee.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
All righty. Okay. Well, thank you all for being here. We appreciate it. And we'll get more updates. I make a motion to go into executive session pursuant to Ohio Revised Code Section 12122G4 to discuss collective bargaining.
Second.
Commissioner Reeves?
Yes.
Commissioner Dreehouse?
Yes.
Commissioner Summer Dumas?